Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We are off and rolling. Hope you're off to a great start as well. Jackson, Lucas, and me. For the next 3 hours, Cowboys fall to 3-7 last night. Houston Texans dismantling them the way that their stadium is being dismantled. You see that? You got things falling out of the rafters of Jerry World. You imagine if that happened during the Tyson-Paul fight?
Oh, my goodness. Missed it by that much.
A giant piece of shrapnel just falls out of the sky and takes out Charlize Theron or something like that.
If a piece of shrapnel like that, if a hunk of metal from the roof of Jerry World fell anywhere near me, if I heard it, if I saw, I am on the ground, I am clutching my knee, I'm doing something.
You're putting on a neck brace?
Absolutely. You know. Absolutely. I'm wearing a neck brace for the next few weeks just until the litigation plays out.
I mean, did you see the video of that thing falling from the
that's scary stuff,
almost
man.
Hit somebody.
Yeah.
It's like a foot away from some dude getting set up for the game that day. Lisa Salter said that's typically where she stands to do her live. Can you national travesty?
Oh my goodness!
Should any harm befall Miss Lisa, as Lamar Jackson calls her?
A euphemism for the way things are falling apart with the Dallas Cowboys in 2024.
I would agree so. Jerry Jones is fielding questions about has Mike McCarthy lost the Cowboys. I saw Tom Pelissero tweet not 5 minutes ago as I was driving into work that would they consider playing younger players to take a look at some guys, as if Mike McCarthy is going to be around to potentially see those people through their NFL careers beyond this year, as we, forecasted, I think appropriately, as did the rest of the entire sports consuming world, that Mike McCarthy was the most pre-fired coach in America. That certainly tracks.
Did you see his answer?
No.
His answer was no. Our backs are against the wall here. We're a 7-loss team. We got to start winning games, which is how teams think, right? Like,
sure.
We see questions like this.
I don't know. It feels less and less like that here locally, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
But we've just, to me, it's wasted air to ask that question even. Are you ready to, because then the question.
Ask what question?
Are you ready to just throw in some of the young guys? Because then the question you're asking Mike McCarthy is, well, season's lost, right? So are you ready to operate as though the season is lost? And no, of course he's not. No coach is. None. Especially not a coach that's about to get fired. I did not understand that question being asked of Mike McCarthy. Like he's going to be there, like you said. Like his evaluation of these young players matter down the road. No. I mean, we've seen too many turnarounds. What did the Jags do just 2 years ago when the Titans had to lose 7 straight for it to happen? But what were the Jags? 2-7?
It was something ridiculous.
3-9 when they won the AFC South. So no, the coaches don't just stop.
That season was so dumb. I have never seen a professional sports franchise lose 7 in a row that's not named the Detroit Pistons that way. That was an unbelievable, especially with the way that the final game was lost on that controversial call. Do you want to talk more about officiating? I got more time today. But either way.
How about the winning team last night?
The Houston Texans look good. Joe Mixon looks excellent.
We talk so much about the Giants letting Saquon go to a divisional rival, and obviously Mixon did not go within the division. But do the Bengals have any sort of feeling about that?
No, I mean, Zach Moss was fine. He just got hurt.
I mean,
what I'm saying?
And Chase Brown's a fun player, but Joe Mixon is having a phenomenal season.
Yeah, but the running back does not cure. Like, their offense isn't the problem.
That's true.
In Cincinnati. It's the fact that their defense is decrepit, and Lou Anarumo is trying to patch together or plug as many holes in the dam as humanly possible to try and get that thing to just hold the fort for a couple of quarters so that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow can do their thing. No, I don't think that they regret the Joe Mixon contract. I do understand the feeling, but, that's to the benefit of the Houston Texans, who got right yesterday, got their 7th win of the season, and continue to kind of further the gap between them and the rest of the AFC South. I know that the Colts did beat the Jets over the weekend, but for the part of the Texans, who obviously are the next Titans opponent, they will travel down to Houston and take on the Texans at NRG Stadium. He was just, you can't say enough good things about Joe Mixon in this thing. He had 3 touchdowns. The offensive line, though, honestly, is as big a story to me if you're just paying attention to some of the threads for all of these teams, because the offensive line has been one of the things, not Laramie Tunsil, but the offensive line situation has been one of the things that people felt like was holding C.J. Stroud back a little bit. And I know that this was a run-centric game plan that they put together to their success. and that there wasn't a ton of heavy lifting that C.J. Stroud had to do in this game. But if they can get this offensive line playing at a level that I think is even league average, they can vault themselves back into the conversation of, okay, they're legit again. Because it was fair to question them at the time. C.J. Stroud, second year, there's always, some ebbs and flows for a player who's been in the league long enough for everybody else to get tape on you. There's been a lot of conversations. I don't know how much you've seen the discourse out of Houston about Bobby Slowick, who was a head coaching candidate this past offseason cycle, ultimately ends up going back to Houston because he doesn't get one of those jobs. Houston Texans fans want him gone, because nobody ever likes their offensive coordinator ever. I don't know one team that's just generally happy, satisfied with their offensive coordinator situation ever. Maybe the Chiefs.
There's a few.
Maybe Ben Johnson.
Commanders fans got to be feeling pretty good right now.
Cliff deserves some flowers. Cliff Kingsbury gets made, the butt of a lot of jokes and certainly was not cut out to do the job, at least in his first go-around, right, as a head coach. But what he has done, essentially helping Jaden Daniels transition to the NFL, running a version of what they were running in college and implementing some of those concepts there, that's been hugely beneficial for a young player coming into the league. But there's probably, I don't know, you probably count them on one hand, the amount of NFL fan bases that are actually happy or are acting happy about their offensive coordinator situation. But yeah, I mean, the line was excellent, helped Mixon, helped C.J. Stroud have an efficient game. 67.6% of his passes is what he completed. His third highest completion percentage of the season, 257 yards. He did have a pick, but was 8 for 8 off play action, which of course was fed by Joe Mixon's night. 8 for 8 on play action, 99 yards according to Next Gen Stats. So something that they were able to, just continue to have in their tool bag as a part of making that offense balanced. And that's just ultimately what you're trying to achieve, right? It's what we talk about here. And it was not necessarily a balanced performance for Tennessee, right? We knew that Minnesota was going to take away the rushing attack. And for them, that's the thing that they've done to opposing teams all year long. But it's, it seems like an easy thing to say. Well, just run a balanced offense, 50% pass, 50% run. How could anybody stop you at that point until you play a defense like Minnesota who says, oh, no, you're not going to run the football today. We're going to make Will Levis beat us through the air. And he didn't do it, obviously, but put on a pretty good show. I didn't realize how bad Pollard, and I know Spears got the concussion and remains in protocol, according to Brian Callahan yesterday at his press conference, but Levis was the leading rusher in that game. Did you realize that?
With 18 yards, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joe Mixon, Tony Pollard, 9 for 15. It was an overwhelming great day on the ground for either team. Both seemed pretty content to let the other quarterback try and beat them. And Sam Darnold and the rest were able to do that effectively so. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved in the comments section. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is also there for you if you would like to get in there as well. Something that is also talked about, something that you brought up on our pre-show call today, was Derek Barnett. And the Texans, went through this offseason. They signed a bunch of pass rushers. They're trying to beef up, or did try and beef up, that unit for D'Amico Ryans, and they've done so successfully with guys like Danico Autry at the end of his career and Derek Barnett. You've got, obviously, I'm blanking on the Vikings pass rusher named Daniil Hunter.
Yeah.
Who came in as one of their top free agent priorities this year. Derek Barnett was out there for so long this offseason, and I don't know the situation with him. I don't know him, obviously, personally or anything like that. I don't know what the contract negotiations might have been like or not like with other teams, but the fact that they just said, yeah, we'll give him $2 million and he can help fortify one of the best pass rush units in the league. It just seems kind of crazy to me that the league allowed the rich to get richer that way.
And it's not like Derek Barnett was this big-name pass rusher.
No.
I mean, he was a top 15 pick back in 2017, and from what you expect from a top 15 pick, the production has not been, to that sort of standard from Barnett, but he's been very injury-plagued throughout his career and comes into Houston at the back half of last year, traded from Philadelphia, has a really nice 6-game spurt, 2.5 sacks, is productive for them, and then he's a free agent. And like you said, he's just kind of out there, and I thought that would have been a move that would make sense for the Titans. Local guy from Nashville, went to Brentwood Academy, obviously played at Tennessee, and just a cheap option to help bolster pass rush depth. And then the Texans, who just had this loaded pass rush with Daniil Hunter and Danico Autry and Will Anderson, nobody grabbed him. And they said, all right, come on back, Derek.
Sure, we'll take him.
Yeah, and then he ends up with a strip sack and a scoop and score last night.
So just to kind of rehash now that we are officially through Week 11 in the NFL, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs are your division leaders in the AFC. Eagles, Lions, Falcons, and Cardinals, your division leaders in the NFC. Dallas is dangerously close to the New York Giants drain, who we did not talk about. Was Daniel Jones benched before we did the show yesterday? We didn't talk about that at all.
We got headlines coming up.
Okay. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Let me ask you this question, though, just based off the idea of pass rush and knowing that the Titans needed that and a right tackle this offseason. Titans needed a million things this offseason, but, pass rush, not satisfactory to date. Right tackle, very much not satisfactory to date. What are fair criticisms? Because I do think that you have to keep context in mind and understand that there was, they had places all over the roster that they had to go out and find pieces, and you weren't going to be able to address every single need. That's something that we repeated over and over and over again this past spring, but that their two biggest issues are what's left. I don't know who they could have gotten that would have made the right tackle situation appreciably better, like satisfactory to the point of that is a starting caliber player who deserves a multi-year deal here that another team was willing to let go. Because that is the thing that I think that people forget about right tackle or offensive line specifically. Like Lloyd Cushenberry, an anomaly there. People just don't let good offensive linemen go. They don't let good pass rushers go. And there were some guys in free agency that certainly would have been an upgrade over what the current situation is. I don't know that you could say that about the pass rush, though. You didn't have the money for Daniil Hunter.
Yeah, right. I mean, that is somebody you can look and say, well, you could have gotten that guy, something that it's much harder to do at right tackle. It's the biggest swing and miss of the offseason, right? Banking on Nicholas Petit-Frere, taking a step and being able to kind of fill that gap with Bill Callahan coaching.
Well, I mean, Levis TBD, but I don't know that.
Oh, in terms of a move that was or was not made in the offseason,
yeah,
that's the biggest swing and miss. That has cratered them more than anything. Levis, this was always going to be the experience coming into 2024 with Will Levis. And then, Jackson, didn't Brian Callahan, wasn't he asked about this post-game on Sunday, the right tackle situation?
Yeah, it's been really challenging. It makes it hard for us to operate sometimes. That's a position that's by far the weakest link up front right now, and we're trying every which way we can to see if we can solve it, and thus far haven't been able to. And we help over there a bunch, try to run the ball, we try to do a lot of things that keep them out of harm's way. But every now and again, you have to drop back and pass, and you can't help every edge, and you need guys out in the pattern. And we've struggled in those spots sometimes, particularly the 2-minute drill at the end of the half. It's a position that we're trying our damnedest to figure out and help us, and right now it's not quite been good enough.
You and your offensive line coach certainly had input into what's on the roster there.
Sure.
You also had a general manager who knew what was left over on the roster there.
Yeah.
Did he serve you well enough in terms of advice as to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we thought we had. I thought Nick was going to play pretty well for us. That hasn't been the case this year. He's not had the type of season I think he would probably tell you. He hasn't had that kind of performance yet. And it's just you can't just find everybody all the time. I mean, we had things we got to get better at, and right now the right tackle spot is one that we're not there yet. And we're trying everything. We're trying every answer. We're bringing guys in. We're doing all the things that you do to try to help fix it. But right now it hasn't paid off yet. So. Other than that, that's what it is. I think our communication with the front office has been great. We know what our issues are and how we need to address them.
That is from the Sunday post-game press conference, and people are starting to pick at that, right? Well, did your general manager, did your front office serve you well enough in that spot? How many players have started a game at right tackle for the Titans? Can you name them?
Definitely NPF, Leroy Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Has Duncan started a game?
Duncan has.
Okay. And has Ojukwu started a game?
He has not started a game. So there's 3 players that have started. There's 5 players that have played.
And then Ojukwu and Prince.
In that rotational situation, Ojukwu and Prince are the 2 rotational guys. How many pressures would you say?
Just tell me.
I'm going to tell you that J.C. Latham started every game at left tackle. Yeah, rookie offensive lineman, first round pick out of Alabama. He started in 10 games. He has given up 23 total pressures on the season. Nick Petit-Frere has started in 6 games, or rather, he has played in 6 games. How many would you say? If J.C. Latham has given up 23,
38. 45. I mean, just tell me.
You're ruining the game. 26.
Okay.
26. In total, you've got 26 pressures given up by NPF, 9 by Leroy Watson, 6 by OJ, 2 by Jalen Duncan, who played like 6 snaps or whatever it was in that game before his hamstring ruled him out of that game. And technically, Isaiah Prince only ruled with 1 pressure given up, though that pressure was a sack. And, of course, the 3 illegal procedure penalties that he did take were arguably worse than sacks.
Crippling because it wiped away a touchdown. Yeah. But you could argue Isaiah Prince gave them better reps than NPF or John Ojukwu when he wasn't lining up illegally.
He's been a starting player in the NFL before. Like, he's started games of consequence for the Cincinnati Bengals. But, that's just kind of where things are at right now. You have headlines?
I have headlines.
Or next?
It's time for headlines with Lucas Panzica.
Two divisions in the NFL came away from Week 11 with new leaders. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the top of the AFC North at 8-2. Well, not new leaders, but they solidified their spot at the top of the AFC North. The Ravens would have been sitting there had they won over the weekend, which they did not. The final was 18-16, Pittsburgh over Baltimore. And elsewhere, we saw the Eagles claim the top spot in the NFC East on Thursday Night Football with their win over the Washington Commanders. And we saw the Vikings push the Packers down just a little bit. The Packers pushed the Bears all the way down to the bottom of the NFC North. And the Cardinals sit at the top of a logjam that is the NFC West. So there's movement top to bottom in divisions all over the NFL. But sticking with the AFC North, an intriguing one at the top with Ravens and Steelers. Justin Tucker was a big story in this game because the Steelers scored 18 points, all 18 on 6 Chris Boswell field goals, 3 of them from 50-plus. Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals in this game. He missed 5 all of last season. He's already missed more than that. He is 16 of 22 on the year. Kind of an underlying storyline for a Ravens team that looks like a bona fide Super Bowl contender with arguably the best offense in the NFL, but they could not put up more than 16 to knock off the inevitable Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday.
Have we taken Burt off self-harm watch? Because he can be miserable after Ravens games. He's miserable before Ravens games. He's miserable after Ravens games. But I don't think I've ever seen him as down bad as he was on Sunday night when we did primetime. He just hit the go live button, and then he just disappeared for the hour that I was doing primetime, recapping that Titans-Chargers game. Did you see Mike Tomlin's comment about Chris Boswell? We talk about how quotable Mike Tomlin is on a regular basis.
He dropped another great one.
This one was excellent. Chris Boswell, AFC North kickers, if you can find one that can reliably do the job in those conditions, because you got wind, you got rain, you got snow in Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, all these, and Cleveland, obviously. So like Lucas said, 6 for 6, the second time this season, the third time in his career that he has had that kind of a stat line. He is the AFC Special Teams Player, or was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week after he did it over the Falcons. And the question that Mike Tomlin answered via the team website, okay, about the kicker. I love Chris Boswell, and I'm tired of him getting Player of the Week. He probably got Player of the Week again this week. He is deserving of it, but it reminds us of our warts. It reminds us of the work that we need to do, but no doubt I'm thankful he's on our team. He says, I love the kicker. I'm glad the kicker did the thing that the kicker does, but I'm tired of him because it makes us look, or it reminds us how much further we have to go as, in particular, an offense. And I love that quote from Tomlin.
They were 0 for 4 in the red zone and won on Sunday, and that's because of their defense. The Ravens had a chance to tie it late. They scored with a 16-yard touchdown from Lamar Jackson to Zay Flowers. Ravens did not get the 2-point conversion. Steelers defense blew it up. Lamar barely had a chance to even thrust it into the end zone, and the Steelers end up winning to improve to 8-2. Ravens fall to 7-4. Mike Tomlin, again, I say, should be the leader for Coach of the Year in the NFL.
I just think that Dan Campbell, it's going to be like, well, we haven't given Dan Campbell the award before. It's trending in that direction, but I don't disagree that Tomlin is a great candidate.
There are multiple great candidates. Dan Quinn obviously should be up there, Dan Campbell, but for me, nobody's done a better coaching job than Mike Tomlin with the revolving door at quarterback early on, making the right decision there, and they just continue to win games. And the schedule is only getting tougher, but they started off that tough stretch with the win over Baltimore.
So, just quickly on the kicker stuff, let's talk about Justin Tucker. Do you remember what Matt Murphy came in here and said about how Kirby Smart or Nick Saban talks about players that they don't have confidence in? Where he said, well, I can tell when Nick Saban, or by extension Kirby Smart, doesn't have confidence in a player, because if they do have confidence in a player, they will criticize them publicly.
They challenge them publicly.
If they don't have challenge them publicly. If they don't have confidence in a player, they will not do that. They will, provide public support.
Prop them up.
On a regular basis. That is now being done in Baltimore around Justin Tucker, who, for the longest, I think about Justin Tucker, and I know there have been great kickers in NFL history, But I think about Justin Tucker the same way that I think about Tom Brady. About Tom Brady raised the bar for all quarterbacks specific to longevity, right? Like how much longer a quarterback can play, even though it's just Brady that's done it. Aaron Rodgers is 40, looks like a shell of himself, but people expect him to continue to perform because Tom Brady did it. Why can't you? I think about Justin Tucker the same way for the kicker position. Like he's just been so automatic for so long that it's completely changed the math on what people expect from their kickers. And now, where he missed 2 field goals in that 18-16 loss against a divisional opponent, this is one of the worst slumps of his career. It dropped him from being the most accurate kicker in NFL history, specifically after this game. And Harbaugh is fielding questions about Tucker and saying he's the best option that we've got. The best option right now is to get Justin back on point because he is fully capable of doing it. Quote, we certainly haven't lost any confidence in Justin Tucker, which to me is kind of, it's not a kiss of death because he is still a great player. He deserves the benefit of the doubt, or has been a great player, but something to monitor.
Yeah, something to monitor. Remember when Mason Crosby suddenly started the drop-off? Where he was the guy for the Packers for so long, well over a decade. And then, I don't know, maybe the 2021 season, I think it was, maybe 2020. I don't necessarily remember that Aaron Rodgers is having to publicly, say, no, we believe in Mason. He's our guy. He was starting to miss routine field goals, extra points, all of those things. And then the downturn kind of continued, and next thing you know, he's out of the league. I think he might live in Nashville, Mason Crosby. I think he might be a Nashville native at this point.
Why is everybody moving?
Everybody's moving to Nashville.
All the athletes, though. Maybe so many of them have lived in Los Angeles or Southern California for so long. Maybe they're moving here the same way that the rest of the country, or at least that part of the country, is moving here just because they don't like Southern California anymore.
Speaking of the Packers and kickers, another walk-off win on a blocked field goal on Sunday in the NFL. The Packers blocking a 46-yard attempt by Cairo Santos and win 2019 over the Bears to improve to 7-3. They push Chicago further down to the bottom of the NFC North at 4-6. Dramatic game in Chicago on Sunday.
So it's not like the Broncos-Chiefs one, because the Broncos are going to be okay. Broncos, I'd be surprised if they don't make it to the playoffs. And, I don't know that team's not capable of winning a playoff game. What I know is that the Bears are broken yet again. And I don't laugh at Bears fans because I enjoy their suffering or their misery, but it's so hard. This is why the number 1 overall pick does not guarantee to fix all your problems. And it's not a Caleb Williams thing to me, though he has experienced some struggles that are emblematic of being a rookie in the NFL and also being a rookie in the NFL who holds the ball too long and plays behind a terrible offensive line. Getting the number 1 overall pick and expending it or spending it on a quarterback does not cure the issues that you have. And I know that that's a last-minute play for the Packers to go on and win the game that way, but it's just emblematic of the Bears season. They're 4-6 right now at this point in the year. They have struggled mightily to get any level of consistency from their offensive line, which has led to larger problems and is now, not just because of the offensive line, but Matt Eberflus also feels like he is not long for that job at this point, where he's already made sacrificial lambs of coordinators and things of this nature. But for the Bears, they're going to finish in last place again. Their division is arguably the best division in football. They are next up at hosting the Vikings. Then they have a good record at home. They've been okay at home this year, but the Vikings are a tough test. Then at the Lions, then at the Niners, then at the Vikings, then home for the Lions, home Seahawks, at Packers to finish the season. This may end up being a 5-win football team, maybe, just because I think Seattle's also suspect and San Francisco's having problems of their own. Man, I don't know what that looks like in Chicago. I don't know what the fix is, and the offensive coordinator change, while, maybe it means something for a game, just didn't seem to make that big of a difference when your problems are so much bigger than the play caller.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we got 2 of the best quarterback duels that we've gotten all season in the NFL on Sunday in Week 11. And it seems like quarterback play is having a bit of a revival right now because it's not just
Mel Kiper no longer advocating to ban 2 high safeties because he's not seeing enough points.
Somebody needs to ask Mel Kiper if he's willing to withdraw his proposal to ban 2 high safeties because it is improving. And it's not just Pat Mahomes versus Josh Allen, which was awesome on Sunday. Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow, which was even awesomer on Sunday Night Football. It was a great time watching the Bengals try to come all the way back, almost had the biggest comeback in franchise history, and then the Chargers end up winning 34-27. But it's also Anthony Richardson and Bo Nix and guys like Richardson, too, by the way, that were benched for a little while, come back into the fold. And he arguably had the best performance of his NFL career in the 28-27 win over Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. He was 20 of 30, 272 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 touchdowns on the ground on his 10 rushing attempts for 32 yards. Bo Nix led the Broncos in a blowout win over Atlanta, 28 of 33 for 307 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was efficient. They were explosive, a near-perfect passer rating of 145. And the Broncos looked impressive on their way to 6-5. And then we got to the marquee matchups with the elite of the elite quarterbacks in this league going head-to-head.
Which quarterback do you want to talk about first? Because I think there's some fascinating names that you just piled all into it. There's a lot there for me to work with. Where do you want to go first?
You put them into 2 separate pots, right? Where it's the young quarterbacks that are rounding into form. Bo Nix looks comfortable in that Sean Payton offense. Anthony Richardson looks like a new player after sitting for a few games. But let's go to Pat Mahomes versus Josh Allen and Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert. Josh Allen continues to find success against the Chiefs in the regular season, and he ran in the game-winning touchdown on a gutsy 4th and 2 go-for-it call by Sean McDermott. 26-yard touchdown run by Allen. That made it 30-21. 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and the Bills win, hand the Chiefs their first loss of the season.
It's a lot that's gone right. Do you want to apologize to the Bills? I'm patiently waiting. Your mea culpa.
Well,
perhaps you can write another AI poem.
Who do you apologize to for putting the Jets in the Super Bowl?
No one. I apologize to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, me, for thinking the Jets would be capable of competent football this year. Terrible job.
Well, if you had told me the Bills would trade for Amari Cooper.
Oh, shut up. So there's been a lot of things that have gone right for them, though, this year. Because if you look at Allen's stats in a lot of these games, this is why box score scouting can be flawed. It's not overwhelmingly flashy. It's not pedestrian either. He's clearly talented and he gets the job done. But he has put together a lot of strong performances, and he's done it with a lot of different combinations of these players in these games, right? Those skill position players that you're talking about. Offensive line has also played really, really well this season, and that's something that you talked about potentially being in question. Where did Mitch Morse end up, the longtime center for the Bills? Is he a Jag?
I want to say he ended up on a Florida team.
I want to say it's the Jags that he signed with this year, but they clearly were confident in what they had. They are, according to ESPN, as an offensive line group, giving up sacks on only 3.8% of their dropbacks, which is the lowest rate in football right now. So it's not just Allen, it's not just Amari Cooper. There are some things there that are going right. Now they could stand to level out a little more, but on the whole, you have to feel pretty good about things if you're a Bills fan. And then even the Chiefs, this was an interesting. It's always an interesting game between those two teams in particular. But the thing I like about what the Chiefs are doing and what you're seeing them do in real time, the problem solving, they're still excellent at situational football. They still have the best quarterback in the sport, even if his numbers don't indicate that he's the best quarterback in the sport. They lead the league in third down conversion rate. They're converting at a 52% clip right now. And the red zone production is getting better. I think it's up to right now 11th in the league at scoring touchdowns when they're inside the opponent's 20. So that is definitely an improvement from where they were at the start of the season, where you saw the Chiefs, surviving a lot of these opponents. Mahomes doing an occasional Mahomes thing that would put them over the top, leaning on excellent defense to keep them in these games. But yeah, it's such a great game every year, and hopefully we get to see it again in the postseason.
Sunday Night Football was awesome.
Wait. We got to talk about Anthony Richardson. We got to talk about the Colts.
I feel like that's a separate conversation, though. I think that's a separate conversation about young quarterbacks who were much maligned early in the season that are starting to show something.
You want to do that tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. I think we do that tomorrow.
Because I have thoughts on this.
Yeah, because Anthony Richardson looked dreadful at points this season, and he led them to a win the other day Will Levis.
What time do you want to do it? I'll fill out the
Obviously,
grid
is
right
playing
now.
his best football. So let's do that tomorrow at 11:20 or something. Because we got to talk about Sunday Night Football, and I'm mad
We're
at
going
this
to do
game.
it at noon. For some reason, you have a hot seat conversation in there already. Who's getting fired?
Multiple people.
Okay.
I'm upset at this Sunday Night Football game because for once in my life, I felt like I was not prisoner to Sunday Night Football when the Chargers took a 27-6 lead in the third quarter. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to bed.
I'm going to do something else.
It's 9:30 p.m. and I'm going to get in bed and close my eyes and go to sleep. I'm going to try to get like 9 hours of sleep tonight. And I made the mistake of opening my phone. And the first 8, 9, 10 tweets I see on social media are, oh my God, if you're not watching this game, what are you doing? This is the greatest game in football history. So I dragged my ass out of bed, back into the living room, begrudgingly turned the TV back on, and was up until 10:45 watching this electric 34-27 win. Chargers over Bengals. Joe Burrow, 28 of 50, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns in a losing effort, leading the Bengals back, but falling to the Chargers. Justin Herbert, 17 of 36, 297, 2 touchdowns, 65 rush yards, led the team in rushing. I thought that's got to be a career high in rushing for Justin Herbert. Nope, 4th highest mark in a game in rushing. This guy's had a 90-yard game, rushing 77, 66. I didn't realize that. Justin Herbert, dual threat quarterback.
Well, you didn't think that he was capable of doing that when he's juking out like 5 Titans defenders in that game?
Oh, I
Or you
understand.
thought it was just the Titans because they made Sam Darnold look like Mike Vick on Sunday?
It came at a cost. He got a little chesty on one of them, tried to truck a Bengals defender and fumbled the football. But it was part of that Bengals comeback that fell short. But what a game this was. And Joe Burrow, 7 losses for the Bengals. They're 4-7. How many touchdowns do you think Burrow has thrown just in the losses? He's thrown 27 on the year.
I know that Chase has 12,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Tell me.
18 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in just the 7 games the Bengals have lost this season.
They're having kicker problems too.
They are. McPherson struggled.
Just quickly, because I know we have to go here, and then we'll take more of your phone calls coming up next. Greg Roman was criticized when he got hired. Jim Harbaugh was criticized for hiring, again, Greg Roman to do an NFL offensive coordinator job. They look great. They've transformed what that team is and what that team does and how that team plays, and it's been to the benefit of the quarterback, which has been fun to watch because now Justin Herbert is actually competitive in these games as opposed to just being a fun, talented quarterback that you're waiting to break through and losing meaningful games.
Lab McConkey, awesome. And the Chargers, only 2 games behind the Chiefs.
Uh-oh. Speaking of which, things in sports that made you say, oh no, Jackson, do I have things to give away?
You do. 2 tickets to see Lincoln Park at Bridgestone Arena on August 21st of next year, plus a $100 gift card from A Moment's Peace.
If you want a $100 gift card to A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa and 2 tickets to Lincoln Park, all you have to do is call us 615-737-1045 and tell us what in sports made you say, whoa, no. What in sports made you say, oh no, made possible by A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. If you are thinking about the holidays, it's a great holiday gift. A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa is your spot to get all your holiday shopping done. You can go to amomentspeace.com, or if you give us the thing in sports that made you say, oh no, this weekend, we'll give you a $100 gift card to A Moment's Peace and 2 tickets to see Lincoln Park. Shall I start the bidding? Because I've been of mixed feelings on this. I wanted to do officiating, but I knew that officiating was going to be a popular subject today, and I felt like I bitched and moaned enough about officiating yesterday. So I instead will do Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson made me say, oh no. I'm mad at myself. It's also probably going to be my dumbest thing in sports this week. Me is going to be the dumbest thing in sports this week for convincing myself to watch that fight. But watching a damn near 60-year-old Mike Tyson have no legs under him in a boxing match against a 27-year-old YouTuber in prime physical condition. And can I get some reckless speculation, please, at some point at your convenience? And also probably chock full of steroids. I think that this situation was very sad. I don't want to remember Mike Tyson that way. It's going to leave a lasting impression on me that was Mike Tyson, or that is Mike Tyson now. I am happy for Mike because he got paid, and that probably matters to him at this point of his career. So that is the only thing that is kind of soothes me about how big a just sham that nonsense was, because all I wanted to do is see the 27-year-old. I just don't want to see the Paul brothers ever. I don't understand the popularity. This is how I'm going to age, I guess, because I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how they have a worldwide following. What do they do other than these amateur boxing things? Can somebody tell me?
He's a problem child. I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, probably.
I was never really into it either.
Okay, but like somebody is. Like somebody is more than welcome to inform me what the hell the Paul brothers deal is, because I don't get it. I can find, I just have to be careful not to cuss here. But yes, Mike Tyson made me sad. I'm sad for Mike. I'm happy for Mike that he got paid. I'm sad that it had to be that way. That made me say, oh no.
Maybe we talk about Netflix in a totally separate conversation, because that's a whole other oh no that was going on.
I honestly think that's a show segment. Honestly, I would like to talk to an expert who covers sports like media as a business. Maybe we reach out to Mike McCarthy of, not that Mike McCarthy, but of.
I'd love to talk to Mike McCarthy.
Is that his next career venture?
No, he's going to go to Pro Football Focus and read their stats again en route to his next job. No, Mike McCarthy of Front Office Sports.
Yes.
Because I bet he would have some good insight on what the hell Netflix is doing right now, because they have the NFL on Christmas Day.
It was a disaster, and I found myself watching a good portion of the fight on Antonio Brown's live stream on his Twitter account. So, yeah, it was not good for Netflix. My oh no is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their loss in Detroit to the Lions on Sunday was a stop, he's already dead special. 28-6 at halftime, and then a 64-yard touchdown to Jameson Williams, and then another touchdown pass from Jared Goff, and then another touchdown pass from Jared Goff, and then a 54-yard field goal by Jake Bates, the bricklayer, just for a cherry on top. A 52-6 beatdown. Lions over Jags. The stats all over this thing were insane. Goff with a perfect passer rating, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 24 of 29. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 161 yards receiving. Jameson Williams had 121 yards receiving. The Lions racked up 645 yards of offense to Jacksonville's 170. Jags are 2-9. Lions are 9-1. It is the worst loss in franchise history for Jacksonville, a 46-point margin. It surpasses the 44-point loss that the Jags suffered back in December 1995 to the Detroit Lions.
Oh no. Jackson?
Yesterday, history was made on Blaine and Lucas, you could call it this week, as Tennessee and Georgia, obviously a very hot point issue yesterday. And one caller had this to say that made me say, oh no.
I'm just wondering why in the hell we haven't fired Josh Heupel's big fat ass. Can somebody please tell me?
Why? What? Why is that on the
He
hot
can't win a damn big game, and I've been watching his fat ass on that sideline for 2 years through Jack.
Oops.
Oh, there it is. All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Oh, no.
You know,
that's not even the worst call about the Vols this weekend based on some of the stuff I saw floating out of Knoxville.
Oh, my goodness. We did dump it. Good job by Sammy Kincaid, a producer, for dumping it. In the long history of this station, there are marquee moments along the way. And, I mean, think about some of the personalities that have come through this
What would
station.
you say our marquee moment is?
Probably Goody dropping the F word.
The likes of George Plaster, right? Clay Travis, Robert Walsh, the big names that have come through this building.
I'm so mad.
And the moments that you just kind of hang up, that was one of them. The first ever fire Josh Heupel call in 104.5 The Zone history.
Is it really the first?
It's got to be. It's got to be. I have not cross-referenced that, but I'm boldly claiming that that's a fact.
That sounds about right for the show.
And it happened midway through year 4. And that's a lot longer than most Tennessee coaches have made it. So congratulations, Josh Heupel, that it took this long. No, he should not be fired.
615-737.
That was a mean call, Tyler.
1045. What in sports made you say, oh no? Let's start with Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hello? Yeah, my biggest oh no is Katie Taylor winning by unanimous decision, landing half the punches of Serranos.
It's excellent. Stay on hold because if you're not familiar with the names of the fighters that preface the Tyson Paul fight, did you watch any of that?
I got home from my high school football broadcast at the very beginning of the main fight. So, no, I didn't see any of this stuff.
So it's Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano. And I must admit that I've never watched women's boxing before until today. Amanda Serrano, an absolute warrior in this fight. It was the best fight of the night. It may not have even been the best fight of the weekend because the UFC had a great slate as well. But I could not believe that they gave Katie Taylor that fight after Amanda Serrano gave it her all after having, did you see the pictures of her eyebrow? I mean, it's Lucas. Her skin is hanging off like almost over her eye. I think it was her left eye, maybe. If I remember correctly, maybe her right eye. I can't remember exactly. I was too busy just like recoiling at the image of her. It sounds rude to say of her face, but of the wound on her face as she worked her way. And the blows that were being traded in every round of this fight, it was electric. It was criminal. Good to know that boxing is still corrupt at every level of the sport. Doesn't matter men's, women's, or otherwise. The boxing is nonsense and broken as a sport, but damned if they didn't give us a show. Amanda Serrano won to me. It's a great submission by Chris. Let's go to Mike up next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, I wasn't prepared for the oh no thing.
Okay, stick around. I'll put you on hold. That's my bad. I read the thing.
He wants to talk O-line.
How about Leon?
Hey, guys. I just let's talk about last night. That was my biggest oh no. Brandon Aubrey of the Cowboys kicking a 64-yard field goal that looked like it would have been good from 67, but a head slap penalty, which I never heard of in the NFL, happened, bailing them out, started new life with a new drive, and in the Dallas Cowboys fashion, managed to go down, turn the ball over on downs, and get 0 points out of it instead. So the abomination of Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys continue. That's all I got.
It's a good one, Leon. I mean, there's a variety of different things about the Cowboys that would make you cringe or recoil. Maybe not as bad as I did watching Amanda Serrano, but still.
Do you know what their point margin is at home this year?
Always a bad.
Minus 118.
Whoa.
It's the worst in the league.
What?
Second is the Giants.
That has to be close to the worst in history,
It's got to be. Giants, A to Z Sports just put out a graphic with the NFL on CBS tweet that lays this out. Giants are minus 67. That's the second worst. Cowboys, a combined 118 points. That's been their margin of defeat at home this season.
But Jerry's all in. Alex will be the final oh no submission, and then we'll go back to Mike at some point for the offensive line call. Hey, Alex.
That could be a no-no.
What's going on, fella?
What you got?
My oh no comes in the form of fantasy football this morning. I wake up after Joe Mixon carried me to a victory last night. I get an email saying, you punched your ticket to the fantasy playoffs. So I'm like, oh, cool. I'll scroll ahead and see exactly when the playoffs start. Week 14. My quarterback, Lamar Jackson, on a bye. oh no.
I want to give it to him.
The delivery
Just
is
for the
excellent.
delivery at the end of him saying, oh no. That was excellent. Well done.
Because I can imagine that he just like looked at his phone and said, he probably said some more words than that. It's a really good submission by Alex. I just think that the travesty that was the boxing result between Serrano and Taylor, it's so hard for me to not give it to Chris in that spot. It's a really, really bad moment in a sport that, was not a sham. It was that the athletes gave it their all. I mean, even though Katie Taylor was cheating. She kept illegally headbutting Amanda Serrano, which is why her forehead was split open that way. And it just makes me so mad. So Chris will get the tickets because that was the moment in sports, though Alex deserves a runner-up prize. Can we split the baby here? Can we give one okay, Jackson told me no.
he
said no.
Give it to Alex.
Well, you said give it to Alex?
Oh, who did you want to give it to?
I wanted to give it to Chris. I know you didn't see this boxing match, but Lucas, I'm telling you, you would be outraged. You would be outraged if you saw that. So, yes, Chris will get the $100 gift card from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa, as well as 2 tickets to see Linkin Park at their upcoming concert at Bridgestone Arena. You can always tune in at 10:45 for the opportunity to win those kind of great prizes. Heisman Watch is next.
11:03. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Houston Texans routed the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium on Monday Night Football, 34-10. Joe Mixon with a 100-yard game and 3 touchdowns. Former Vols defensive end and Nashville native Derek Barnett with a strip sack and scoop and score touchdown. The Texans are 7-4. They've got a short week to prepare for the Titans, who travel to NRG Stadium next Sunday. Brian Callahan met with the media on Monday, confirming that linebacker Jack Gibbons is likely out for the season with a leg injury. He had surgery yesterday, and that running back Tyjae Spears has entered concussion protocol. Nashville Soccer Club made a signing official today, bringing in Norwegian midfielder Edvard Tagseth, the 23-year-old former Liverpool Academy product coming over from the Norwegian First Division. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway. Thanks for hanging out on this Tuesday. We got your phone calls to take. We'll do so here in just a second. 615-737-1045 is how you can jump in. If you would like to have your phone call taken, you can also interact with us via the F&M Bank Chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Heisman Trophy odds, Heisman Trophy update. As we continue to work our way through the college football season, we're getting closer and closer to the college football playoff being upon us. We will have the rankings released tonight, which will be exciting. We'll see where Tennessee ultimately lands according to the committee. Where did they fell 4 spots in the AP?
The Vols did, from 6 to 10.
Okay, so worth monitoring that here in a couple of hours, well, more than a couple of hours from now, but later this evening. So obviously that'll be a big point of discussion tomorrow. Things holding pat right now in the Heisman Trophy odds, just creating more separation between the favorite and the rest of the field. Travis Hunter, minus 350, coming off Colorado's, a 49-24 win at home over Utah this weekend. Decisive victory over Utah. Then Genty at plus 390. And again, these odds according to FanDuel. Cam Ward at plus 1,400. Curtis Rourke, the Indiana quarterback, plus 3,000. They were off this weekend. Dylan Gabriel, odds dropped pretty substantially. Has he been the best quarterback in college football, or is he just a good quarterback on the best team in college football? I think that discussion can be had at a later date as we're talking more about these playoff contenders.
Yeah, if you're talking most valuable quarterback to his team, I would say that's Cam Ward.
Yeah, based on what he's been able to do and bail Miami out of.
Yeah, he
bail that coach out of.
The majority of the reason why they are where they are. And, the talent profile has risen, and that is a credit to Mario Cristobal. But Oregon had to just kind of scrape by over Wisconsin. They really escaped in that game on the road, and tough to cross time zones like that and just gut out those Big Ten games, but it's Travis Hunter's to lose at this point. I mean, was that the first Heisman pose we've seen from Hunter?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he's feeling it too. And it came after an electric 20-yard touchdown run where he reversed field and went all the way back to way before the line of scrimmage and then just slithered his way up the middle of the field, breaking tackles and getting into the end zone. He had a great interception over the weekend as well in that win over Utah. Shedeur Sanders, by the way, looked phenomenal in that game as well. But I think it's Travis Hunter's to lose at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Genty may at least put up a fight in this at this point. I do love that we're talking about a two-way player and a running back.
I know, right?
As the Heisman Trophy leaders.
A breath of fresh air with the Heisman race.
Just something different.
Yeah.
I also love the idea of Indiana having a top 4 guy in terms of the Heisman Trophy odds. Again, just another thing that makes you double check or refresh your browser to make sure that there's not something wrong with what's going on the internet here. But
at this point, it's who are the finalists going to be? Because it really feels like Hunter's to lose and Genty, you can
have as many as 5, right? I just don't think that they need more than 3 this year. It should be, to me, Travis Hunter, the best defensive back / wide receiver, the best running back in Ashton Jeanty and the best quarterback in Cam Ward. The best college football quarterback this year, I think, has been Cam Ward.
I bet it'll be those three. I bet it's Hunter, Jeanty, Ward. It probably should just be Hunter and Jeanty. And we haven't had only 2 Heisman finalists. Do you remember the last time there were only 2 finalists for the Heisman Trophy?
I don't.
Jackson, could you tell me that bit of college football trivia?
The last time there was only 2 Heisman Trophy attendees at the ceremony?
I'm going to throw out a guess and say 2004.
2010, Cam Newton and LaMichael James, the Oregon running back.
LaMichael James.
And nobody on this planet thought LaMichael James was going to win the Heisman that year, and he didn't in a landslide.
You think he did? You think he was just like, I'll go for it?
Yeah, just a free trip.
Fun.
A free trip to New York, hang out with Cam.
Never been to Radio City Music Hall before. Isn't that where they do it? They still do it there?
I think they still do it there. But it probably should just be Hunter and Jeanty. It's Hunter's to lose. They'll invite Ward up there because they got to have a quarterback up there. But my question is, when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, Boise State sort of, I was about to say Boise State controls its own destiny to be the highest ranked G5 team, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case because
it's definitely more complicated than I think that. If you said that would make it seem far less complicated than I think it actually is.
What happens if Army beats Notre Dame this weekend?
Chaos. I mean, they're probably in, right? Who's their last opponent of the season after Notre Dame? I can look that up for you.
Well, Army will play Navy, of course.
Oh, that's right.
But Army is in the American Conference Championship game. That is solidified. But what happens if they beat Notre Dame and they win the American and they are undefeated. And Boise.
Marcus Freeman's getting fired if they lose to Army.
If Boise then wins out, because we've all been under this assumption that Boise's going to be that highest ranked G5 team. What if Boise wins the Mountain West, and you've got a 1-loss conference champion Boise with the Heisman finalist versus undefeated Army, who knocked off Notre Dame on the way to an American championship, competing for that highest-ranked G5 spot? Does Ashton Jeanty's presence factor into the minds of the committee? Just the fact that there's a marquee player.
Maybe.
And Boise, no, they wouldn't be undefeated in that scenario, but they would have a very impressive loss by a field goal at Oregon early in the season where Jeanty ran all over the Ducks.
It feels to me like that would set up for and I know it's a much different situation, but like the same premise, like what happened to Florida State. Are they going to look at Boise State and say, well, maybe we like Army's record better, maybe we like Army's quality of wins better or something like that, but Army doesn't have a star player. And again, this is a television show, and my default is what's going to be the most exciting thing to put on television? And there's plenty of people around the country that have seen Ashton Jeanty, or maybe they've just seen his highlights on Twitter, but now you get, how many people do you think actually have watched a full Boise State game?
No, not many.
So I'm kind of the opinion that when all else fails, default to what would do the best television ratings. And I think that while that sucks for a team like Army, when you just don't have a star the way that Boise State does, because the things that would be considered would be conference championships, which wouldn't come into play, obviously, until the final weekend when those are determined. Head-to-head, game against common opponents, results against ranked opponents, and there would be a compelling case for the both of them.
Army would have to beat Notre Dame this weekend for this scenario to even be plausible. Otherwise, it'd be pretty cut and dry.
Whoa, breaking NFL news. You got something going? Not Titans, but breaking NFL news. The Jets just fired Joe Douglas, the general manager of the New York Jets. Last month, Robert Saleh, first NFL head coach, fired. Now the first general manager fired, according to Adam Schefter.
There you go.
Of ESPN.
Got that Adams trade in, though. I respected it, man. Just a last ditch.
Did you?
Yes.
No.
Joe Douglas, who says, there is no way I am here unless we were to go on a run and win the Super Bowl.
I don't think that's true.
Why would I? Oh, you don't think that's true?
I think that plenty of people around the New York Jets thought that Joe Douglas thought he was going to get another opportunity.
That's insanity. That is insanity.
Just because it's insanity doesn't mean that it's not something that was going on. Lucas, there are people who are out of there who are, what's the word that I'm looking for? Unrealistic or something to that effect, right? Not grounded in reality about their situations. Joe Douglas fully expected to be back.
I mean, the Jets were more of an all-in for this year team than even the Cowboys this year. So when they made that Adams trade, that was my thought process. If I'm Joe Douglas, hey, give him 4 first-rounders, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to be here unless I literally win the Super Bowl this season.
You respect that? I know he didn't give them 4 first-rounders, but
yes,
a general manager, no. If you're Joe Douglas, that's different.
Yes, no,
but
that's
I'm
what
talking about if
about.
you're a fan of the organization. So think about the Mike McCarthy thing we talked about earlier. Mike McCarthy asked a question about, well, are you interested in playing some of the young players to see what you got in some of the younger guys? And Mike McCarthy, immediately dismisses the question because he's probably thinking, yeah, I'm next to get canned.
Yeah, what are you talking about? We have to win games.
But again, that represents the gulf or the gap between fans who don't care whether Mike McCarthy's back or not, or Joe Douglas is back or not, or Aaron Rodgers or Robert Saleh or any of these figures that you could name. They're thinking about what's in the best interest of the franchise versus Joe Douglas or Mike McCarthy, who's focused on self-preservation. What I respect more, and I've said a lot of nasty things in front of microphones about Dave Football Gettleman, okay, who is the former general manager of the New York Giants. But when Dave Gettleman went through that last draft before he knew he was getting fired, he put together a draft that was there to support the pieces that he had put in place. And I thought that was one of the most commendable things that an executive could do in that spot, because it wasn't about him. It was about the franchise. And he clearly cared about the Giants succeeding, whether he was there or not. So, no, I don't respect that.
I do. Joe Douglas looked at it, said, everything is falling apart around me.
This is such a reversal of
I'm not gonna be
where
here.
we normally are on things.
Let's ship picks. Get Devontae Adams in here. Can we rescue
Let's
this?
what picks?
Can we ship picks?
What? I just looked at Jack.
You don't have to hit that button.
I don't know.
I did, because it sounded like you said it.
It really sounded like you said it. That's like, there was like a company a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still functioning, but it was Ship Sticks or something like that. It's a very scary thing to get in front of. Anyway.
And New York Jets, what a disaster. What an unmitigated disaster.
Woody Johnson patience has worn out, says Emmett Jones. Yeah, he's the problem too, though. Like, I get it. They get to be like this, the NFL owners. And the thing that I hate most about NFL coverage is that we are not properly equipped to cover the people that actually matter at the top of these food chains or all these things. Not that journalism can't be done regardless, but like, the only person who I know is going to get good information on NFL owners is once a year there's a Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta story that just drops on Jerry Jones's neck or something like that, because they're clearly the only people who have the tools, the journalistic tools, to get close to the power the way that it needs to be covered, because that actually determines the fate of these franchises. Woody Johnson is just as culpable as the people he's fired. He's more culpable. He turned the fate of his franchise over to the ayahuasca drinking quarterback and said, yeah, let's go. No, I knew Woody Johnson's patience is worn out. I don't care about Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson is a bigger problem than any of the people that have lost their jobs as a result. And I know that he gets to be that guy because it's his thing, just as, Jerry Jones and, there are Titans fans out there frustrated with Amy Adams Strunk and all these other people. Woody Johnson's patience is wearing out. He's just going to go be the ambassador of the United Kingdom again. He doesn't care.
Wipe his hands.
God. 615-737-1045. We're going to bring I'm going to bring my blood pressure down coming up next because Mike Felder's going to join us. We'll talk some college ball. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you are like so many other guys over the course of the last decade of them treating dudes who feels like they've given up hope because the pills have stopped working if you're using them to treat ED. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you like they have helped so many other guys find the hope that they're looking for. Because the sad reality is if you go to a doctor to seek treatment, the only protocols that may be available for you are things like irreversible surgery. And you don't want to go through that before you speak to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, because this is what they specialize in. It's all they do, and it makes them the experts in the field helping men deal with their sexual health issues. They have access to multiple protocols and options to treat ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. So don't trust your health to an online pharmacy, and don't feel like you're out of options. We want you to understand all the options that you have available when it comes to ED treatment. The Tennessee Men's Clinic protocols are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low T, ED, treatments that increase size, stamina, and everything else in between. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. The news of the day, before we get to Mike Felder, our dear friend, to talk some college football, is that the New York Jets have made official the firing of general manager Joe Douglas after a month ago firing their head coach, Robert Saleh. They are a mess. They are a laughingstock. If you feel bad about how your football team is doing, as Titans fans largely do, you can just point and laugh at the Jets and you'll feel better. Mike Felder joins us now, not for some NFL discussion, but to get into the world of college football. Mike, I do want to know, like, as a program that you may see or see some of the dysfunction, I know you're not necessarily like college football insider covering the ins and outs of these programs, but is there a college football program that comes to mind when I say, what is the college football equivalent to the New York Jets? Okay.
Got you muted.
Mike, you're muted.
I thought I unclicked that. Dang it.
That's okay.
So
You're not. You know what? We've been doing the Zoom thing for like three and a half years at this point, 4 years, and there are still so many people that do that. It's not your fault.
Okay, thank you so much. No, I think there's a couple different elements to this. I think Nebraska sometimes has felt like that. I think that, I mean, honestly, you know what? You know, the answer is, this is an easy answer. It's Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is Auburn. And I think a close second is probably Florida.
What about Florida State in terms of a team that just kind of tried to put everything together this year and it just collapsed dramatically?
I don't think there's anybody more mad at Florida State than Notre Dame because that was supposed to be kind of like that was supposed to be kind of like a feather in their cap coming into November, and then all of a sudden you beat these boys down because they only won one game. So let's put it. Listen, they can all get in a circle and play ring around the rosy together. Auburn, Florida State, and Florida. I think they all belong in that same mix. And I think Florida State's the leader there because they're a team. Were they in the top 10, top 12 preseason?
Top 10.
Yeah. So there's that. Then Auburn. All the mess is going on behind and I think that's why Auburn was the name I came up with first, because all the mess that goes on behind the scenes there is absolutely buck wild, and they truly are trying to find their way out of the woods, basically, right? Like, and they don't even realize it's like I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Village.
Yes.
But yeah, the highway's right there. All you have to do is go there, and then you'll be in civilization, and they just can't seem to find their way.
At In the Bleachers is where you can follow Mike Felder. You can also check out his Substack, itsfelder.substack.com, for all of his thoughts and musings on the world of college football. So why was Carson Beck a good quarterback on Saturday after having been a bad quarterback for the past couple of weeks, if not months?
I don't know why. Like, you're man, I have no idea why. And it wasn't like they did things better. I think it was Tennessee did stuff worse. And we did not see we didn't see the pass rush that we needed to see. We didn't see them play behind the line of scrimmage like we needed to see. Remember, ATN didn't play. Like, so you should, after watching, and I will say this, after watching someone like Ashton Genty play, to go back to like, their leading rusher at Georgia, a school known for running the football. Their leading rusher has 400 and something yards this year? And we're in November. So I'm watching Genty and I'm like, this guy's got almost 1,000 yards more than Georgia's best rusher. So I think that they found a way to make Tennessee show their hand. They did use a little bit more tempo, and they also were able to, which helps Beck out, because what I've noticed with Carson Beck is, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but with the comms in the helmet, that 15-second mark is a killer for quarterbacks, because then the defense just does something different, and these young quarterbacks don't know what they're doing. And I say young quarterbacks as in, I understand that he's been in the program a long time, but when he doesn't have that coach in his ear, he's not sure what he's supposed to do. So I think that's what did it, is they worked a little tempo. They went before that 15-second mark, and I think that was the difference in the football game.
Mike Felder with us in the Bleachers on Twitter. So, Mike, Tennessee now joins the pack of two lost teams in the SEC, right? And we'll just keep it here to Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. I know A&M is a 2-loss team, but it feels like their situation will kind of be figured out based on the Texas game, whether or not they win that one. If they win, then they're in the SEC championship, probably in the playoff. If they lose, they're out. So keeping it to those 4, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, Bama, how would you rank those 4 right now? Because it feels like there could be so much variance with that. And how different do you think that will be from what we see with the playoff ranking that comes out tonight?
I mean, I'm gonna listen. I'll put my hat down on the ground. I don't know what they're gonna do from a playoff ranking standpoint. Like, I don't think any of us do we?
No, absolutely not.
Lucas tried so hard, Mike, last week to tell me why Tennessee would not be below Indiana or BYU, and me just saying, well, I don't believe anything that they say, and when I watch Indiana, they look better, and that's what I'm going with, and that's what the committee ended up going with too.
I tried to apply their own logic, Mike, and it blew back in my face. I mean, it had just exploded.
It was delightful.
None of it makes any sense. So if I was personally, if they let me be on the committee, they would never do that. But if they let me be on the committee, I would go with Alabama. Of these 4 teams that we're talking about, I would go Alabama 1, Georgia 2, and then I would probably put Ole Miss and then Tennessee. That's what I would do. And I understand Ole Miss beat Georgia. I don't think that Ole Miss would want to play that football game again. And that's the part that's going to be interesting. But Georgia also, should I go Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and then Tennessee? Does that make I think that makes, I'm talking myself into it now. But it's those 4 teams are tied together in a way that none of them are in control of anything anymore. It's done. It's over. You're not in control of anything. You have to see what happens with Texas, with A&M, obviously. And A&M, keep in mind, and the tiebreakers, have you guys looked up these tiebreakers? With divisionless football, it's like you look at head-to-head, sure. And in that head-to-head, we have an Alabama win over Georgia. We have a Tennessee win over Alabama. We have a Georgia win over Tennessee. This is kissing cousins. And so, this is wild. So, and then you got to look at common opponent head to head. So none of those 4 teams that we've talked about are in charge of anything. Tech and A&M, by the way, still if they become a 2-loss SEC team in a loss to Texas, they still are a problem because their loss is outside of the other loss is outside of the league. Their 3rd loss is outside of the league.
That kissing cousins thing a little too close to home in our part of the country, Mike. I'm pretty sure it's still legal in many of these states. Mike Felder here with us on 104.5 The Zone talking college football. The matchup or the tactical the tactics that you are looking for that will decide this Indiana at Ohio State game, talking about games of consequence for the college football playoff rankings. Indiana, of course, off this week. What intrigues you about this matchup? What are you looking to see?
So there are 2 things that I'm looking to see. One is, can Indiana play station-to-station football? And by that, I mean, can they just go first down to first down to first down to first down and just work their way? Indiana's still the team with the most red zone trips in the country. And they have the most red zone scores in the country. And what that says to me is they have to get first down to first down to first down to get to a touchdown. They don't have an explosive offense the way that we see out of Ohio State. And so you flip that on its ear. They have to play station-to-station football. Then you turn that over, and it's 2 sides. It's 2 sides of the same coin. Ohio State, they don't care about first downs. They don't care about red zone trips. They will score from 70. They will score from 60. They will score from 55. They will score from 28. And so Indiana, you mentioned tactics. Indiana has to limit explosive plays. I do not think Ohio State is disciplined enough to go beat for beat across this, right? Indiana has to make this, a 12-round fight. Ohio State's I just want to knock you out in the first round, man. That's all I'm trying to do. And we all saw that fluke of a fight this weekend. So I didn't mean to bring it up, but what a joke.
No, we did it too, and then we talked about how much better the women's boxing match was before that.
It was so good.
So criminal to follow up one with the other.
Yeah, that was insane. So we're on the same page there. So when I look at this from a in styles make fight standpoint, Indiana needs to not slow the game down, because Indiana still is a tempo-based football team. They need to stab the ball before 15 seconds are on the clock with the comps. But all they have to do is Indiana is one of the few teams in college football that's patient enough to get 6, 6, 4, 6, 6, 4, 6, 6, 4, 4, 4. They're patient enough to do it. And that is more frustrating for a defense than giving up a big play or giving up even a pass interference. It's more frustrating, but Indiana's going to have to combat that Ohio State attack that they live off chunk plays. And you can see it. Like, I don't know how much you guys have watched Ohio State, but when they don't get where they want, when they don't get what they want, the anger in like Egbuka, the anger in his face when he's like, come on, man, give me a good ball. Like, he's like, I'm open. Please don't overthrow me when I'm 45 yards down the field. And when Will Howard overthrows him, he's like, come on, dude. And he peels it off and runs off the field. And so there is a frustration. It reminds me a little bit of Dana Holgerson when he was at West Virginia with Geno and Tavon and Stedman Bailey. If they didn't make big plays, they really struggled. And I think that's going to be the fight that we're going to have to watch if Indiana can get this team frustrated by not letting them get those big plays.
So that pack of two-loss SEC teams, obviously rooting for Indiana's downfall here, rooting for Ohio State to just...
Yes. He just says that to hurt me, Mike.
No, see, this is Buck's problem. He thinks everything has to do with him. It's nothing to do with him, Mike. I'm talking about football here and playoff scenarios.
I don't believe you.
And there is an assumption, I feel like, that either Indiana is going to win this game in an upset, or they're going to get their doors blown off. And if that happens, that they're going to plummet out of the playoff picture. But what if they lose but don't get dominated? What if they lose by 8? Or it's a competitive game and it ends up being a 2-score loss, like Tennessee, Georgia over the weekend? How do you think the committee kind of absorbs that? And then how do we talk about Indiana in the playoff picture if they keep it competitive but come up short?
I think that Indiana losing doesn't matter by how much to me. I think them losing is some sort of a validation for a lot of folks and does open the door for an extra SEC team, or more specifically, it opens it. Like, I think them losing opens the door maybe for Penn State, right? Like, Penn State becomes a team that we absolutely have to kind of pencil in. I think they switch spots. I think that's what we're looking at. And the crazy part about all of this is in the same state, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, again, we mentioned Florida State. They also thought the USC game at the end of the year was going to help them. And it's not. It's not going to help them at all. It's not going to do anything for them, if we're being quite honest. So we're looking at a game on Saturday night, which we would have never circled this game in August, right? We would have never circled Ohio State, Indiana as a decider, because Indiana wins, they're going to go play Oregon. Oregon, by the way, survived against Wisconsin. And so we're going to see all that happen in the next couple of weeks. And it starts on Saturday in the Big Ten, this behemoth, 18-team league? Now we've got to figure out, what does this look like? We got to figure out their tiebreakers too. But what does this look like? Because Indiana they got Purdue left. If they finish as a one-loss team and that one loss to Ohio State, Michigan could upset the apple cart too, right? So this is going to be really interesting to see at the end of the year, Ohio State, Indiana, in the middle of November, towards the end of November, if we're being honest, what this looks like, what they can do. And I like Kurt Cignetti, man. Like, and I'm a Cignetti fan. Like, I'm a fan of the entire family. Like, I played when I was at UNC, Frank Jr. was there. And that's why I understand this, like, station to station football. All he wants to do is take what you give him. Most teams don't do that. And we'll see if Ohio State's able to suffocate them on Saturday.
Do you enjoy Agent of Chaos, Billy Napier, Florida? Because Ole Miss this weekend has to be looking around and being like, I don't know if I feel safe about this game based on the way that they have been able to put it together, Florida, in moments, Felder.
Yeah, moments. I'm glad you used the word moments, man, because that's exactly what it was, what it is. And those tight little moments, we saw it against Georgia a few times. We've seen it. And we've seen it several times where they just have these little moments where they look like, whoa, we got this under control. And so Agent of Chaos, again, look at this. I'm just giving Buck all the credit in the world, right?
Lucas fuming across the desk after he talked about how much I make it about myself. It's okay, you can continue.
But they beat a wounded LSU team. Ole Miss, dude, how healthy is Jackson Dart going to be in this football game? Because healthy Dart, I think they take care of business. I also think Ole Miss, the difference here is we talk about Agent of Chaos. Ole Miss is fighting for their life, as Lucas mentioned, right? They're one of those teams that's on the cusp. One more loss, we don't have to talk about them ever again. Like, you guys will have me back on the show, and you know who we won't talk about? Ole Miss. So it's going to be, I think I'm very fascinated by how healthy Dart is. Lane Kiffin going to a place that, let's be honest, going in the week, 4, 5, we thought Lane Kiffin might be the new head coach of the Gators. Like, that was very widely pushed out there that he would be the coach of the Florida Gators once they got rid of Billy Napier after that rough start. So this will be a very fun game, I think. I think they're both going to go after each other. I think they're both going to put points on the board. I do think that Ole Miss is better. I also, can I just say, tip of the cap to Jackson Dart? This guy went into the locker room. He didn't go into the tent. He went to the locker room one time, and they gave him that good, and he came out there and he finished the game.
I mean, that phrase has so many meanings because I just associate with it with whatever horse tranquilizer they're shooting these guys up with to make sure that they can get out there and finish these games. He is Mike Felder. He is the best. At In the Bleachers is where you follow him. It's felder.substack.com is where you can read and see all of his musings on college football, cooking, complaining, all of my favorite things. Yes. Frankly, it's felder.substack.com. Mike, always good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
It's always fantastic. You guys take it easy.
Mike Felder there with us on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up next, we can react to some of that. We can also talk to our high school football hero of the week, Oakland running back Dwayne Morris.
DeJuan
Morris, forgive me.
We talked about this before
I know
the show.
You coached me up, and I screwed it up anyway. I even, on my notebook, put it phonetically and ignored that. I just looked at the grid. DeJuan Morris will join us coming up next. I'm sorry. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, one of our favorite segments of the week. Get to catch up with our high school football hero each and every week, somebody who has accomplished something of note in the previous week, and that's been, the case for Oakland. Certainly as a football program on a regular basis, they are accustomed to success. They continue to uphold that standard at Oakland as a football program, and certainly DeJuan Morris is no different. He joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. DeJuan, thank you so much for taking some time. All right, we ask this question every week of the high school football players. Are we getting you out of class, or are we interrupting your lunch?
No, sir, you're not.
Okay, so excellent. So wait, we're not getting you out of class, or we're not interrupting your lunch?
No, sir, you're not.
Neither.
Gotcha. So for you, but I guess before we talk about individual accomplishments, and we like to highlight those things here on the show, for you, as far as your team and where you guys are at right now, comparative to the standard that Oakland holds you guys to as a football program, how do you feel like you guys have come together to continue to succeed at that rate that this program is accustomed to?
I mean, just us understanding in the summer that when we lost in a state championship last year, that it's not a standard to lose. So I feel like this team, it's been a great team just because that we understood what we can do as a team and with each other. So, I mean, just holding that standard and being with Coach Creasy as a team, I mean, it's kind of hard to not want to hold that standard.
24 carries, 228 yards, 4 touchdowns. You had a 99-yard kickoff return for a score in that 35-28 win over Mount Juliet in the second round. I know that I'm telling you all these things as if you didn't do them, but for you, what went right for you guys as an offense this week that set you up for that success?
I mean, what set us up was us coming in Sunday and watching film and making sure we understand what we messed up on and what we could fix the week before. So, I mean, just as a team, I felt as if we did our job, and not just our job on the field, but we did our job off the field, realizing what we needed to fix and what we needed to work on. So, I mean, just us coming in that early and being a team, I feel as if that's what helped me continue to put up those type of numbers in a playoff game. So that's what I could say. Coach Creasy and all the coaches, defensive coaches, they all came in Sunday, and everybody was ready, and everybody knew what was at stake.
Oakland running back DeJuan Morris, our guest on the show. He is this week's high school football hero.
Yeah, those are crazy numbers. 228 yards, 5 total touchdowns, including the kickoff return and a shootout win as Oakland moves on to the quarterfinals, taking on rival Riverdale coming up on Friday. DeJuan, do you enjoy those rematches? Obviously, you guys are incredibly familiar with Riverdale. This will be yet another year where you meet them in the regular season and in the playoffs. Do you enjoy seeing a team the second time around only a few weeks after you met them in a win in the regular season?
Yes, sir. You do enjoy it because, those coaches and the players, they always want to get back at you. And you have a big target on your back when you hold the standard that high. So, I mean, you do enjoy it, but it's also a realization of understanding that those teams could come back and beat you if you're not doing what's right. So, I mean, I feel as if we do enjoy it, but I mean, for us to be able to play them again, I mean, it's grateful because we get another opportunity to play a rival, and we get another opportunity to showcase our talent.
I was fortunate enough to be there for y'all's loss to Ravenwood in overtime. Obviously, a thrilling game a few weeks ago. 2 undefeated teams at that point in the season. And
he didn't think it was fortunate that you were there for the loss.
I was fortunate to see 2 6A state championship contenders going head to head, and you guys are in separate brackets now. I know you guys are looking at the challenge in front of you, but there could be that real possibility down the road of meeting them again. All that to ask you, how much of a measuring stick was that for you guys, taking on Ravenwood a few weeks ago and just sort of helping you evaluate late in the season where you're at as you get ready to try and achieve the goals you want to achieve?
I mean, it hurts to lose that type of game, but it helps us as a team. We understood, the things that caused us to lose that game, and they've been helping us in the playoffs. So, I mean, just us losing that game, it showed us a lot. It showed us where we are as a team and the grit we have. So, I mean, Coach Creasy continued to stay on us and continue to tell us that, I mean, every week it's an opportunity for both teams to lose. It's just who's going to fight for 4 quarters.
Now, I love that perspective, though, Dewan, because that's not an easy thing to kind of wrap your head around, right? There's a lot of emotions. Obviously, everybody wants to go undefeated, but there can be lessons that are valuable to you as you continue to pursue the ultimate goal that you can take from those setbacks, as you just described.
Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate you taking some of your time to jump on the show. Quick question for you before we let you out of here. Is there a running back in college or in the pros that you like to watch, that you try to take some things from when you're putting together your game?
My favorite two running backs is Jameer Gibbs and Alvin Kamara.
Specifically, what about their game do you like? Because those are two different styles of back, but they can do a variety of different things.
Jameer Gibbs is more of a speedster guy, but he could also hit it tight. He could also get outside. But Alvin Kamara is more of a patient guy. And I feel as if I have both of those tactics to be able to use in the game. So I think that's something that I really like. And they both can catch the ball in the open field. So
not a bad combo.
And Dewan, before you go, in the midst of this playoff run, I understand that you may be in Knoxville this weekend for the UTEP game, visiting Tennessee. Still committed to USC and the Trojans. What's that like for you, balancing the recruitment process with yet another run at a state championship at Oakland High School? And where's that process at for you right now as you remain committed to USC?
I mean, the process is still going to a signing day, but I mean, just while it's going through the playoffs, I mean, the colleges know that I'm really just worried about winning this state championship right now, and everything can take care of itself.
Well, Lucas had prepared an entire sales pitch for you to go to Tennessee, his alma mater. My alma mater, Indiana, not bad at college football right now, Dewan. I'm not trying to influence you one way or the other, but you got some options out there. Thank you so much for taking some time and putting up with our nonsense. Continued health and success for all of you guys, and good luck this weekend.
Well, thank y'all again. I appreciate y'all for taking the time to get me on the show.
That's Dewan Morris, Oakland running back, there with us on the show this week's High School Football Hero. So you don't know where you're going yet for TV?
We have not confirmed the MyTV30 destination on Friday. The Zone's high school football coverage is over for the season. Tennessee basketball will be on the air Friday night. So Will and Brad had their last high school football broadcast last week. And, TBD. Hey, Oakland-Riverdale. I mean, that's a marquee matchup, as it always is, in the quarterfinals this week. Dewan Morris is one of those players that you just feel like you're watching something special when you watch him play. Just so elusive. The change of direction is... I haven't seen many players like that at the high school level be able to do it the way he does. So incredibly, incredibly fun to watch, and obviously playing at a very high standard for Coach Creasy and the Oakland Patriots.
Coming up next, the Titans. I'm gonna say that they insulted one of their best players on the field for a portion of the season. I'm going to tell you how they can make it up to him coming up next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Breaking news in the NFL. The New York Jets have fired general manager Joe Douglas. His time comes to an end after a 30-64 record. Hired as the GM of the Jets back in 2019, his replacement for the interim will be former Browns GM Phil Savage. Of course, the Jets fired head coach Robert Saleh earlier in the regular season. Titans will be on the practice field tomorrow, getting ready to head to Houston to face the Texans, who will be on a short week following their Monday Night Football win over the Cowboys last night. Brian Callahan met with the media on Monday and confirmed linebacker Jack Gibbons is likely out for the year with a leg injury, and running back Tyjae Spears is in concussion protocol. College football playoff rankings come out tonight, 6 p.m. on ESPN. The Tennessee Vols, of course, expected to drop from the number 7 spot after the loss at Georgia on Saturday. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Levis from his end zone, firing deep downfield for Westbrook. Akine, he's got it! 40, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, end zone! Touchdown, Titans! The longest touchdown pass of the year in the National Football League just went 98 yards!
You haven't gotten to hear Mike Keith do many of those just generally. But certainly that was the case on Sunday. I know it's moral victories. I know it's, participation trophy type stuff to say, well, they got something accomplished despite a 10-point win. But for this player in particular, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, the Titans have basically insulted him for the way that this season started. I am offended on his behalf, even though he is not offended. He is a good soldier. He'll do his job no matter what the circumstance is or no matter how far down they try to bury him on the depth chart beyond people like Traylon Burks, for example, who I know that I feel bad for Traylon, that he's kind of the sticking point for a lot of people, but that's the situation that they put themselves in when they decided that they were going to go with measurables over reliability. And so they don't deserve Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, as far as I'm concerned, for the way that they've asked him to basically take a seat to the side for games that were winnable at the start of the season. And now, because of the situation that their wide receiver core is in, he has basically become wide receiver 2, with where Tyler Boyd is at this point as well. And I've been thinking about how they can make it up to him. This man signed a 1-year, $2 million deal. He got $750,000 guaranteed this offseason. It's the second time that the team has agreed to a 1-year deal for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. And I've been trying to figure out, I don't know what Nick would want to do with his free agency this year. I don't know how many other players on this roster that are pending free agents that teams would look at and be like, I want that guy, but Nick should damn sure be one. He's earned it. He is the definition of success for a player that came from the spot that he came from, Indiana, before it was a football school, to be an undrafted free agent in the NFL, to come in during the COVID year and make it as an undrafted rookie free agent, to do so not by skill as a receiver, but just by pure work ethic. And they identified that. Vrabel and Robinson identified that early on because I remember when he made the roster, plenty of us were questioning what this guy was doing on the roster, and still he was questioned or has been questioned at various points throughout the course of his career, not just by the coaching staff who put him behind Traylon Burks on the depth chart to start the season, but by the fan base that has largely wanted to run him out of town until basically this year. And all the while, he's just put on a good face about it. He's leaned into the Honda Accord thing. The Teron Davenport at ESPN dubbed him the Hood Honda Accord. You can put 300,000 miles on it and it'll still give you exactly what you need. He wore a Honda Accord shirt after the Patriots win just because he understands what his role is. And there has never been a player, or there hasn't been a player that I've covered that I think embodies exactly what you are supposed to be as an NFL football player more than Nick Westbrook-Akina. The time has come to give him a multi-year contract extension or give him a multi-year contract at the end of his current deal. Now, there are two schools of thought on this. One is, would that deter you from drafting a wide receiver with a day 1 or day 2 draft pick this year? No, it absolutely should not. But you can still give the most reliable playmaker on the team, and I would call him, Lucas, even on a team that has Tony Pollard on it, who's been a great signing on a bad football team. Nick Westbrook-Akina, by volume, is the most reliable playmaker that this team has. He's been more consistent when he's out there than Calvin Ridley. He's been more available than damn near anybody throughout the course of his career here. He has more touchdown receptions. I'm just going to read you this list because it is unthinkable that in heading into week 12 of the NFL season, that this is what he's been able to produce in an offense that doesn't score touchdowns hardly at all. But for NWI, he has more receiving touchdowns than the following: CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, and Devontae Adams.
He has a touchdown every 3 catches. He's got 5 touchdowns on 15 catches. Averaging 17 yards per catch, 256 yards. Not the Titans' lead receiver in yardage or catches, but you're right. Most reliable. Has not dealt with drops this season. He's there when you need him. Nick Westbrook, inevitable. And he feels like...
Did you just steal that from the chat?
Okay.
You did not coin that term. Stop.
I had not heard that before. I tweeted it.
I literally saw it appear right
ago,
before you said it.
And I said it. I sit here in the studio during Titans games with Zach Lyons watching the games as we prepare for Titans Network postgame and Titans Talkback. And I can't remember what game it was, which one of his 5 touchdowns he scored, maybe against the Colts or something, that I exclaimed, Nick Westbrook inevitable, in the room. And then Zach tweeted it right before I tweeted it. So I am going to take credit for Nick Westbrook inevitable.
He stole it from you.
He did steal it from me. He would tell you that.
Did you?
Juwan Jennings, just to compare, because if you're talking about what kind of contract does Nick Westbrook-Akina get when he does get that well-deserved deal, he's kind of the Titans' Juwan Jennings, right?
I feel like is. They are the same. It's that meme from The Office. The corporate needs you to identify the differences in these two pictures. And she says, well, these are the same picture.
Now, put aside the year Juwan is having right now, because he's basically wide receiver 1 in San Francisco. I mean, Ayuk's out for the season. Debo's dealt with injuries. Juwan Jennings has 588 yards already at this point in the season. He does have less touchdowns than NWI. He has 4. But NWI has had better numbers throughout the course of his career than Juwan Jennings. Seasons of 476, 395, 370 receiving yards, where with Juwan you look at 282, 416, 265. Comparable. Not worlds apart, but comparable. And Juwan Jennings signed in the offseason a 2-year, $15.39 million deal. Now, we keep in mind that Juwan almost won Super Bowl MVP. Like, he would have been a candidate for that.
This guy could, too, as far as I'm concerned.
If the Niners had won that game, right? He had the touchdown pass, had a touchdown reception, was phenomenal in the Super Bowl. So he was great that whole postseason. That has to come into play. So is that the type of money that we're talking about with Nick Westbrook-Akina? A 2-year, $14, $15 million kind of deal?
I've got him at 2. Are you talking about Jennings? I've got him at 2 years, 11.89 mil is the deal that he agreed to. I want to say that was, this offseason is when Juwan Jennings signed that contract, and he got, let's see, so that's an average of 5.9. Hell yes. Hell yes. If for no other reason, I know that people don't like the idea of the contract. You're not paying for future production, though you would like future production, right? You're paying them for what they've done. This man deserves more money than that based on what he's been able to do and how many different ways that he's been able to do it with how many different coaching staffs, how many different quarterbacks. They've tried to replace him a million times over, and all he does is succeed.
He's the most successful Titans UDFA since who? Titans UDFA, not somebody that built a career as a UDFA that the Titans signed, but that was signed as a UDFA by the Tennessee Titans.
Do you have one that comes to mind? Because I'd probably have to, think about that for a minute. I would struggle to, just based on longevity alone. Their UDFAs do not, the average NFL career for anybody is like 3.5 years. It may be less than at this point of the league. I would have a hard time identifying a player, at least in the last, 15 years, as a UDFA that's been better than that guy.
Yeah. That's an interesting poll question. NWI, best Titans UDFA since who?
So, was Drew Bennett a UDFA?
There you go.
Yeah. Drew Bennett
yeah.
would be the standard, or not the standard, but Drew Bennett would be the thing that you're aspiring towards. Somebody said since Tier Tart. Stop it.
Now, there's an asterisk here because different era, but the franchise's best technically undrafted player would be Warren Moon. But he had a CFL career before that.
Yep.
So maybe that's just a separate category in and of itself. But yeah,
he's been the best wide receiver for this franchise since AJ left. And I know Hop was great last season, but based on time spent, this is NWI's 5th year. This has been the best wide receiver since AJ Brown was here, and arguably the best UDFA since Drew Bennett was here. So I think that in particular, NWI has earned it. They ought to pay him just because they feel bad because of what they did to him. This man didn't have a target in the first 4 weeks of the season. And I'm not saying that if you insert NWI into all the snaps that Traylon Burks got at the start of the year that you're maybe a 4-win football team. But there's a case to be made that there are plays left on the table that Traylon dropped. There are drives that could have been extended because Traylon was in the game and Nick wasn't, that would have given this team to be more meaningfully competitive than they did. And listen, I'm not going to kill the coaching staff for at least coming into this thing when they were hired and saying, well, it's kind of like NPF, right? Measurables and pedigree over what we've seen from them to date. Like, I can fix him. The NFL is rife with I can fix him in coaching. And it should be. You should have a degree of confidence that you could take the former first-round pick and turn him into something. I'm not gonna begrudge them that. But what I will begrudge them is that they didn't figure it out in training camp when Traylon was not more reliable than NWI, when Traylon is not the better player than NWI, and you're preparing for actual NFL games of consequence at the start of your season when your season still mattered. That I will begrudge them. That should never have gone on as long as it did. Never. And that's on Tyke Tolbert. That's on Brian Callahan. That's on Nick Holtz. That's on everybody associated with the offensive coaching staff that kept this dude out of the lineup for a former first-round pick who you knew to be wildly inconsistent. And if anything, I honestly think that Traylon has regressed. But I don't even know that you could say that because he hasn't played enough football. So the way that they can make it up to this man is by giving him a multi-year contract extension. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to give him a 10-year deal or anything like that. But you give him you can give him the Juwan Jennings contract. You can give him 11.89 over 2. You can do that. And you will not be worse off for it. If anything, you will be more consistent. You will be more reliable. You will have a greater level of faith in this passing game than you should. That's what it is. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get involved. Ron Slay says, Tyler Boyd, ? Having a great year? I don't know what do you mean, Slay? I know it's a comment on YouTube, but I need more context than that. Are you saying that they should have played NWI over Boyd necessarily?
He's doing it with a bunch of laughing emojis. I can never tell when Slay's being serious in the chat or when he's just messing with us.
Well, I just know that he owns a Traylon Burks jersey that he still continues to wear, so his analysis here is irrelevant.
Slay is ride or die, something you could never understand.
Yeah, because that's stupid. There's a point where you got to bail. There's a point where it becomes borderline detrimental if it's not already to be ride or die. People should be ride or die should not be a thing. You should be able to pull the eject cord when you're ready, when you see clearly and obviously that this thing isn't going your way.
I'm hearing from apparent Ron Slay spokesperson Joseph Bonanno that he's saying Tyler Boyd is not playing to the level that was expected of him coming in.
Oh, sure. But he's still more reliable than Burks. I mean, and they play different positions. Like NWI can play all three positions, but Traylon Burks was the backup to DeAndre Hopkins. And Traylon Burks was the beneficiary of those snaps. Nick can do it too, and he can do it better. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll get to your phone calls coming up next. We will also get into the college football playoff rankings. Vols lose at Georgia over the weekend. They dropped 4 spots in the AP. What will the committee feel necessary to do with them when the rankings are released in their 3rd iteration? All of that coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is how you can get in on the conversation. I have been in the middle of the commercial break arguing with Ron Slay, who you can hear from 3 to 6 on 3HL. With the rest of the crew there, Slay has been pushing back against my defense of NWI. I will read the comment exactly. That should say, newsflash, LOL. Ron Slay is in the YouTube chat, by the way. That's where we're going back and forth. If you want to interact there, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll get to your phone call shortly. Slay says, newsflash, if we're celebrating NWI, ladies and gentlemen, we are much further away than anyone ever thought, LOL. As consistent as he's being, he's not a starter in this league. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. It's not just because Nick Westbrook-Akina has more touchdowns than all the players who are high caliber, quality wide receivers in football who have better quarterback situations than Nick. It is nonsensical to think that that player cannot start in the league.
This is not a conversation about Nick Westbrook-Akina is wide receiver 1.
No.
Right? And should be the A to Ridley being B and so on. No, it's just that Nick Westbrook-Akina has done nothing but earn his spot here. Right? Done nothing but go beyond expectations at every single stop.
And also, why can't he be a starter? Based on what? There are worse wide receivers across the league starting everywhere. There was one here that was worse than him and starting as a wide receiver in the NFL. I get what Slay's saying, but he's doing too much with the UDFA stuff there. He's discounting Nick too much because of what he has been or what his pedigree is, and I don't believe that because the comment that he offered was, how many of those players on the list of guys that Nick has more touchdowns than would you take NWI over? I said probably half.
Name them again.
Give me a second. I'll pull up the
because I understand what Slay is saying from the perspective of, man, we must be really down bad if we're talking about a guy that has 256 yards before week 12 as the one pending free agent the Titans have got to keep here.
What about 2-8 and the way that this season has cratered is not down tremendous?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not on NWI.
No, it's not. But I'm saying that's where I understand where Slay is coming from there. Like that context, that is how bad things are. But that should not be a knock against Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Well, that's being used as a knock against Nick Westbrook-Akina.
What's the list?
Here we go. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, Devontae Adams.
You said you take NWI over half of those? That is a little insane.
Probably half.
I think that's a little.
I'd take him over Calvin.
That's a bit of an exaggeration.
I would take on a consistent. No, I don't think it's an exaggeration at all. Does he miss games?
No.
Does he produce?
Not to the level of the majority of those players, but
he is right now. He's doing better than the majority of those players. He's doing better than all of those players that I've just listed.
The touchdown stat, yes. But don't sit here, look me in the eye, and tell me that Nick Westbrook-Akina.
I'll pick the wide receivers out of this list that I'd take him over. I would take him over Zay Flowers right now.
Oh, wow. Come on.
I would take him over DJ Moore right now.
Okay.
I would take him over George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, and Devontae Adams.
All right, now you're just being insane.
I don't think so at all.
Now you're just being insane.
Why not? What is insane about that?
They've got to bring back NWI. They do. But
what is insane about that?
Most...
Instead of just saying that's insane, tell me exactly why it's insane. Based on the production that those players have put together this year, why would I not take them over?
You found one touchdown stat, man.
I'm not doing just touchdowns.
Yes,
Does Devontae Adams separate the way that he used to?
No, if you want to bring in the age factor.
Does Michael Pittman have a drops problem?
Sure.
Does Calvin Ridley have a consistency problem just because he's put together 3 weeks of good football? Dating back to his career. I'm not giving you just touchdowns. You're trying to make this. No, I'm not at all. This is the actual agreement.
This is insane.
All you had to do was call me in, Buckaroo, and say, Slay, come sit in for a 20-minute segment. You know I would have loved.
Why, so I can yell at you and get even more mad than I already am? No.
I never get to come on your show anyway, dog. I would love to come on your show outside of basketball season.
Who said that you're not allowed on this show? Who said that?
No, I didn't say allowed. I know I could just bust in there and be on the show. I said welcomed on the show outside of basketball. This is what I'm telling you, though. Listen, I am not knocking NWI. I think it is a great story. It is all about perseverance. This is the grind that you want to show. If there is a blueprint to it, and I'm in support of, you got to think I'm going down that road. I'm a UDFA. My brother was 11-year UDFA. I love the story of what he's doing. I cheer for the underdog. What I'm saying is, hell yeah, sign him. I said when he goes to the table yesterday, he should take less to stay right here and not have to go and do anything else to build the foundation. He's loved here. You cannot have another story like this. He should play with one franchise for the rest of his career. What I am saying is, if this is your guy that you're moving forward with, this is where you are. This is a problem, is all I'm saying. When you bring in guys like a D-Hop, you bring in a Calvin Ridley, you bring in Tyler Boyd. Those were the three, and then you keep 5 tight ends. He was an afterthought, even after Traylon Burks, even after Mason Kinsey. Then we started talking about NWI. That's what I'm saying. It had to be something for them to look at it that way. That does not mean he does not earn his money. That don't mean he ain't consistent. That don't mean he can't play in this league. I'm saying for us, if we're talking about not moving the goalposts, we want to be a AFC South champion to be able to go and to contend in the playoffs. If this is your guy, you're in trouble.
No,
because you look at any other team that's going to be in the playoffs, Buck, and I promise you, that list you just named, you'll take any one of them to lead you in the playoffs if help.
No, I understand the point that you're making on that specifically, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he is a part of their future. He should be. They need to draft a wide receiver high.
Okay, now,
I'm not saying that Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to lead them to the promised land. That's not my point.
Okay, I apologize because I can't. You know, I got up from my nap and I just turned it on and I was looking at it and I heard you. Do
you or do you not have that damn Traylon Burks jersey on right now?
No, I will as soon as I get out the shower from my nap. Yes, I absolutely will.
But so I present to you, Buck. Well, you can have DJ Moore, but then at the expense of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, and you're saying no. Give me NWI.
I would say I would definitely have to think about it.
Okay. No, but that's what I'm saying. But so So you say I'm cynical to be thinking of riding off the cliff with Traylon Burks in the passenger seat, probably playing car ain't got no roof. Yeah, but I'm saying you're the same way. If you're saying you got to think about a number one receiver and a guy like DJ Moore who is shaking his head every time anybody throws the ball, if you get him a competent quarterback, that man is a franchise-leading receiver.
No, I've seen DJ Moore be excellent. You are absolutely correct. Again, I would have to think about it, and half was probably excessive.
Yeah,
but there
you go. Start to walk it back, Slay. There it is.
Walk it back? What do you mean? He's in here, coming here, thinking I'm saying Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to take him to the Super Bowl. No, I'm right.
You said you would take NWI over Zay Flowers and George Pickens.
I would.
I would.
Down. No, one of them is a good and consistent football player. The others are not that yet. That is not nonsensical. If you are arguing that, if you told Mike Tomlin, okay, let's take Mike Tomlin. Let's just apply the football logic. Is he available? Yes. Is he good at football? Yes. Is he going to give me problems? No. Is he going to do all the other dirty work stuff that this guy does? I'm talking about building a football team. That is a football player.
Just don't take
That's right. But hold on, Pan. Let me ask you this about Mike Tomlin also. When George Pickens comes back off of IR, do you think he's going to say, wait a minute, NWI, you've been playing really good? No, what he's going to say is, George Pickens, get your butt out there, dog. Let's go play.
Yes. Well, they would have done that with If they do that with Traylon Burks, I'll scream. I will scream.
Don't compare Traylon Burks to George. We're talking about a 700-yard receiver in Week 11 and George Pickens, okay? Let's not act like George Pickens has played 5 snaps this year.
I know what you want. You want me to tell you Traylon Burks is terrible. Yes.
No, I don't care about that. I don't think about him at all anymore, and I'm pissed that I have to.
That's what I'm here for, Buck. That is what I'm the little roach. You turned on the light, and here I am.
Roach? I'm the roach. You and I are talking about different kind of roaches. Get out of here. Get out of here. Take your ass to the shadows. Get out of here. That's Ron's stuff.
There he goes. I'm with you, man. Bring back NWI. Every team could use an NWI. You want to have NWI, but why do you got to take it so far? Why do you got to go all the way?
Because that's the way that I feel.
Zay Flowers? Nah.
It's not nah. You're asking me right now, who would I take this player over? And I just told you the list on that list of players that he is outproducing this year when he has been deprived of snaps to do so.
He's not outproducing Zay Flowers, buddy. Look at his numbers. The guy's got 700 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Why does Zay Flowers have more numbers?
But he's got Lamar Jackson at quarterback.
Because he wasn't losing snaps to a guy who can't play 4 weeks into the NFL season, Lucas. If you put these guys, And he also plays for the Titans. You're talking about damn Lamar Jackson versus the slop that this franchise has trotted out for this guy to still produce. No, you will not convince me that there is not a quality player that can outproduce and outperform some of the players on this list. You just won't. Because he does.
I love NWI, but this might be your wildest take yet.
I don't think that's true.
Congratulations to you.
What's that on the list of?
I don't know. I don't keep track. But
it would be tough.
Zay Flower. I mean, come on. We're as a separator, as somebody that could take the top off a defense.
I'm
as a
talking
difference
about
maker.
if I am building it, because I want one. I want a Zay Flowers too. I want them to draft a Zay Flowers. I would like for Rand Carthon to spend more than a 6th-round pick on a wide receiver after 2 years of being a general manager. I would love that. That would make me happy. I got so angry watching Vrabel and Carthon wave at the camera after they drafted Wiley, who's not, he's fine, he's whatever. But on a team that desperately needs wide receivers and playmakers, this team has neglected it since they traded away A.J. Brown. I know they've tried to put it together parts and pieces, but they have not found the definitive playmaker on this list of guys that fit that description for NWI to be a complementary piece of. But if you're asking me who I trust on a week-to-week basis to do their job better, the sum of the job, not just does he have more box score stats, then I'm going to look at half of these guys and say, yeah, I would trust Nick Westbrook-Akina than I would more of these.
Over the Zay Flowers.
That's right.
You're yelling at me. He's outproducing him when he's literally not. And I hate this because I don't want this to turn into, this is not a bashing NWI. NWI is incredible. They need to bring him back.
Sounds like you hate him.
But just wait.
Would you like to submit an apology to him too?
Why do you have time? Why do you have to take it so far? You got to take it all the way up to, I'd rather have NWI than George Pickens on my team.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think I'm being disingenuous? Or do you think this is actually the way I feel
I just think you're doing a sports radio hot take.
I don't think I'm doing a thing at all. I think I'm legitimately making the case that I believe to be the case about these players and about who I trust more on a football field. And yeah, maybe I took it to an extreme where I look.
Take it to an extreme. That you'd rather have NWI than George Pickens on your roster is an extreme. It is. I see what you're saying.
Who do I trust more? That is how I'm evaluating this football team. Who do I trust more to do the sum of their part? No matter how, do you trust George Pickens? Do you trust George Pickens to be a good soldier when things get bad? He's had multiple moments where he, and I'm not saying that he's a pill or that he's a bad guy or any of this stuff, but I'm talking about on aggregate, the entire summary of what it is to be an NFL football player. If George Pickens gets benched, you think he's going to go out there and play gunner? I'm saying that there are so many different things. It's not just about what the box score says on these guys.
But it is. It's about production.
To an extent, production matters, but this guy also produces. The guy I'm taping up for also produces despite them not letting him in the lineup. I don't know what Nick Westbrook-Akina would have in week 12 of the NFL football season if he was a starting wide receiver for this football team. I don't know that it would matter because their quarterback situation, their offense has been a mess. But I'm talking about on aggregate of players that I trust to do their job, on players that I know are going to be there no matter how discouraging the situation is. That's Nick. That's the case for this
that's a credit
over
to
these
Nick.
guys. So that's not an extreme to
talent and production wins over all of
talent
these things,
and
man.
production should not always, because talent and production beat him out in training camp, and it was not justified.
How much of a nightmare must Antonio Brown have been to deal with late in his career in the locker room? But he still played games because he's the most talented receiver on the field.
You're missing the point here. Traylon Burks does not produce. The guy that he got benched for.
Traylon Burks has nothing to do with this conversation.
Traylon Burks, absolutely. You're just moving the goalpost. Traylon Burks is talented and potential. That's who he lost his job to.
You're talking about George Pickens and Zay Flowers, proven wide receivers that are productive.
You're asking me who I trust more, and I'm telling you the guy that I trust more.
You've lost your marbles. We got to move on. Let's get Darrington in here, see what he thinks.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get involved. That's what I don't want to do. I don't want to go round and round on this argument.
Such an extreme.
It's not an extreme at all. T-Mac is next. All right, good talk. Darrington's next.
All righty then.
Hey, Bob.
Boy, that was a wild take there, huh? Honestly, and I hate to say this, but hey, Buck, I agree with you. The man missed 4 games. You take 4 games away from Zay Flowers, let me know what his numbers will look like. George Pickens has a blocking issue. He doesn't like to block when you don't get the ball. Yeah, attitude matters when you're playing football. So if you want to put somebody in the trenches, I'll take NWI all day. You want to talk about just talent, then you're talking about George Pickens. But you want somebody who's going to do the everyday muck and grind when it might not be a passing game and it might have to be a running game. Yeah, I'm going to take NWA all day and over Zay Flowers anytime. I'm just making numbers make sense. Anyway, what I was calling to say about I think Jeffrey Simmons misses the Nico Andre, that defensive line. I don't think enough has been said about that, or if anything has been said about that. I think he was a key factor. Another thing, hey Lucas, I know you a good old Rocky top, but hey, who let them dogs out? That's all I wanted to know. You know what I'm saying? Call Kirby and them. You know what I'm saying? There, you think we looking for them? I ain't seen no orange since Saturday. All right, y'all have a good day.
Man, you only call in when things are bad, Darrington.
I understand why you feel like I'm being extreme.
Yeah, I think you realize that you maybe took some extreme steps.
No.
Yes, because you said that. You said maybe that was a little extreme.
I didn't say that I would take him over every player on the list. Let me finish the point so we can move on from this nonsense, okay? Because I don't think it's nonsense, but I understand why you're treating it that way. It's not just because Darrington said it too, but I need guys that I know are going to be there no matter what. And that's all this guy does.
Yes.
That's all this guy does.
You need those guys.
You also need
the talented ones.
Talented playmaker. But this team doesn't have one. This team has a Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Mm-hmm. But you know what you take over the grit and grind guys that are reliable in there? You take the talent. Because the talent is what wins you games.
In some
what wins you
circumstances,
championships.
the talent does not, no, the skill. The talent does not alone win you games. Caleb Farley is a talented player. Will Levis is a talented player.
Stop bringing up guys like Caleb Farley when we're talking about proven NFL players. We're talking about proven talent.
That's fine.
Proven talent.
Then say skill, not talent. Because those two things are different. That's my distinguishing point here. There are players who have talent, and the talent doesn't translate. There are players who have skill, and that puts you over the top. I'm talking about a player who may not have been the most talented player in the world, but he is skilled. And I know that I can trust that skill, and I know that skill translates to multiple phases of the game. I am acknowledging that the Tennessee Titans desperately need a CeeDee Lamb. They sure as hell needed A.J. Brown. They gave him away. Okay? But there are players on this list that I would absolutely feel more comfortable with over or taking Nick Westbrook-Akina over because he does so much more than just the one thing or the one or a couple of things that you would assign. I get why that sounds extreme, but this is a team that needs guys like Nick.
Yes.
You cannot have a football team. This is a talented team. Would you not agree?
Yes.
They paid a talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
The talented guy took a couple of weeks, and to his credit, in Calvin Ridley has the work ethic to work through some of the difficulties that he's had. But they weren't getting anything done.
They need to bring back Nick Westbrook-Akina. I think he should be on this team next year. The extreme is saying taking him over guys that you also desperately need to be a competent NFL offense.
They're not getting any of those guys. They need to find their own, and that's the struggle that this franchise is up against. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get involved. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
Oh, it's lunchtime. It's the best time of day for you. It could mean time for Hattie B's. Any one of their 6 locations, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, and the Nashville Airport. Stop there for lunch. And by the way, you have until tomorrow to make your Thanksgiving hot with Hattie B's. And we're not talking about serving your family hot chicken for Thanksgiving. No, we're talking about the works. Whole fried turkey, sliced turkey breast, cheesy hot chicken dip, whipped potatoes, Bishop's carrot souffle, all made in-house locally here in Nashville by the great people at Hattie B's. They can cater your Thanksgiving and spicy it up for any size gathering. That's right. Traditional sides and upgraded additions. Create your own custom meal without any of the hassle. Why do the work? Why almost burn your house down by frying your own turkey, which is the best way, we all know, to eat turkey? Just go to HattieB.com and custom order your own Thanksgiving meal. You got to do it by tomorrow, Wednesday, November 20th, for Monday through Wednesday pickup before Thanksgiving. Go to HattieB.com.
Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, 615-737-1045. The number if you want to get involved. Let's go to Chris, who's waiting up next. Hey, Chris.
Okay. All right, Buck. I want you to say this with me. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy.
Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. Great movie, bad person.
That's basically where you're going with this. I mean, Nick Westbrook-Akina is not a bad receiver. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But if he's the best receiver on your team, that's an indictment on your team's receivers. And when you're talking about comparing him to Pickens and some of these other guys, do what?
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, that is an indictment on it. I agree. I 100% agree.
But the thing is, like, somebody like him, I definitely want him on the team. There's absolutely no question. I love players like that. But he's not a Hines Ward who did all those things but also was an exceptional talent. He is what he is as far as his talent's concerned, so you do need better receivers. And I don't like the diva receivers at all, but you can't say, honestly, that Nick Westbrook-Akina is better for this team than a George Pickens or really any of the other receivers you said.
My point is I want them both. I want a guy like Nick, and I want a dynamic playmaker. I don't have those things right now.
So if you have to pick one, what do you take? The dynamic playmaker or the old reliable? The dynamic playmaker.
The dynamic playmaker is the answer, but the quarterback negates a lot of this conversation. Like every player on that list, I mean, just to kind of rehash the list really quick, just to make sure that I'm accurate on that. I mean, we can safely say that every wide receiver on that list has a better quarterback than the Titans quarterback room.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not CD right now because Dak's down.
Michael Pittman's had his quarterback issues this year.
But Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Will Levis.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, so like that does impact, because like DJ Moore. All right, let's DJ Moore. Would I rather have DJ Moore and Nick Westbrook-Akina? I know I said that I would not right now, but in taking that conversation, I'm taking into context my situation. Does DJ Moore do anything here? I mean, does he make a substantial difference here? And I'm not saying that Nick does make a substantial difference. I'm just saying you need both of those guys. And on a team like this one that's in the state that it is right now, they need that guy in the future. I completely understand your point about me taking it to extremes on the level of playmaking mattering. They don't have that. They have to find that. I'm looking at what they have right now and what they can continue to use to build this into a good football team. And I believe that Nick Westbrook-Akina is a part of that.
Yes. Yeah. So you took an incredibly extreme path towards making a good point. So
that sounds about right.
I appreciate you pulling it back a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you kind of looking back at what you left in your wake and say, okay, oh no, I see. I can
see where people can get caught up in for sure. I can get out of it. I can get over the
because I'd love to hear folks in Pittsburgh on Pittsburgh Sports Radio play back that clip of you going, I'd rather have Nick Westbrook-Akina than George Pickens.
Oh no, I do feel that way. I don't love the pick. Like I know that Pickens is a good player, but I don't love the attitude.
He's so good. He's so good.
No, I get it.
You got to have a diva wide receiver. Got to have.
It's not even like I don't even think wide receivers like it's not a diva thing. Like George Pickens isn't a diva to me. I just don't know that I can trust him on a regular basis. I don't like some of the behavioral stuff. It's not a diva.
Absolutely. But he's so damn good at football.
Sure.
And you want guys that are just damn good at football.
I'm not.
No, and you'll take the BS that comes with it.
I'm not
Most of the time, you will.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
The vast majority of the time.
I would agree with that. 615. But by the way, what's the difference between what the Steelers situation is and what the Titans have? All right. Mike Tomlin can handle it. He handled Antonio Brown, Lev Bell, and Ben Roethlisberger at the same time. There's not a lot of teams that are equipped with the infrastructure to be able to handle those situations. So you can have all the talented players in the world you can't have all the talented players in the world if you want to, but you also have to have the ability to manage them. Like that's the Deion Shador conversation, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the stability as an organization to handle the talent, then the talent does what for you? 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Troy up next.
Hey, guys. Love the show. Buck, I called in to talk about Will Levis's tunnel vision initially, but you got me on NWI.
Okay.
I have been an NWI drum beater from day one. He's reliable. You know, as Titans fans, we have complained about receivers who are not available, who are hurt. All these star guys that we signed, they're always in the tub. And NWI is just that guy. He's available. He's not a number one, but, man, when you need him for a third down conversion, he's going to get that.
Appreciate the call, Troy. Thank you. 615-737-1045, and Mark will be the last call of the day.
Yo,
hey, Bob.
Little fun fact. Netflix could possibly have crashed because they use AWS, Amazon Web Services, for streaming and also all of their content, and for multiple other things. I'm an IT major, so I've done my research on these things. So, yeah, probably Amazon was the reason.
So that's going back to our conversation earlier about the fight. Thank you for the call, Mark, about the fight this weekend, and I'm sure it'll make an appearance in the dumbest thing in sports this week. It's relevant for us because they'll have NFL games. They've got what? They've got Chiefs Steelers and Texans Ravens, I believe, on Christmas Day. Hopefully I didn't mix and match the opponents there, but I believe those are the two Christmas Day games. And I think that you think that fight drew a larger audience than the NFL games would, right? I mean, that's an international event, no matter what I think of the Paul brothers.
Pop culture is all mixed in. Yeah. I think absolutely it would.
So it'd be curious to see if those issues occur. But I just, Netflix generally has not had success with live events. The Love is Blind show, the Tom Brady roast, I think, is the thing that they've done the best, and even that had some hiccups, but we'll have more time in the week to talk about
Have you
that.
seen Silicon Valley? Did you ever watch
that show?
Yeah, it was the Hooli nucleus stream crashing.
Wasn't it a boxing match?
No,
that they were trying to stream?
No, they were like streaming wasn't it like a bird's nest?
No. There was a fight. Like there was a whole big thing. Like they were trying to beat the I can't remember the platform that the main characters in Silicon Valley put together, but that's what they were streaming. They were streaming the bird. And Hurley took their technology and tried to stream a fight.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It was a UFC fight.
Yeah.
And it failed miserably. That's what happened to Netflix.
That's great. Polls, please.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Where do the Vols land tonight in the CFP ranking? 6 o'clock on ESPN. 32%, majority of votes saying 13 or lower. 26.7% are going 12. 23.8% say 11. Just 17.6% say 10. My projection is 12, but I have no idea. No idea. 12. Got to turn your mic on a time.
I know. 12 and last team in, right?
Not if Boise's behind you. It'd be best if Boise is 11 and they bump up a little bit and Tennessee is 12. Then you're in that bracket that they put out. But we'll see. Do the Titans need to bring back NWI in 2025? 97% say yes. Yes, absolutely. Can you see the CFP committee leaving out the loser of the SEC championship game? We could talk about this tomorrow. Lane Kiffin had thoughts on this. 51% say no, but it's very split.
We'll save it for tomorrow.
That's right. And NWI is the Titans' best UDFA since when? Everybody's saying Drew Bennett. That is the answer.
Well, because some people said Wycheck, some people said Delaney, but those guys weren't UDFAs for this team.
No, and they were draft. Wycheck was definitely a draft pick by Washington.
But there were like more rounds in the draft when Frank got.
No, he was a 6th rounder.
Oh, was he a 6th rounder? Okay.
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. It's a fun show. We appreciate you hanging out. Check out the podcast. I'm off to Hardee's because we got a commercial to shoot. You've got more Lucas and Blaine Bishop coming up next.